stay up. Hi everyone, hope you're doing really well. Hi Vivian, hi Lisa, I'm doing well, thank you very much. I hope you're doing okay as well. Hi JKK, hi everybody, I hope everyone's had a really good day, whatever you've been up to. Here in the United Kingdom, it's is it about gone 8, at half 8? I don't know, something like 8:15, 8:30, I'm not too sure. Might be later, I just lose track of time continuously. Hi Lanabella, hope you're doing okay. Hi Sandra, hope everyone's doing really well. I've been thinking about what I would say today actually, because it's just some really quite mind-blowing things that we're finding out and what's being exposed. So I'm going to be talking about, just in case you don't know who I am, former UK police constable. I was in the police for 18 years. I resigned from the police voluntarily in 2018. And then since that time, since 2022 actually, I've uncovered, with the help of others, irrefutable and verifiable evidence of international government fraud. So on a very basic foundation level, that's where we are in terms of what we're looking at here. But it has opened a massive can of worms in relation to historically what's been going on, and potentially leading into what their motive is, tying in with the Vatican. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about some more information. Hi Emma, I hope you're doing okay. Hi Robert, I'm good, thanks very much. I hope you're doing well as well. I'm just going to look at the comments for a second. Hi, weather is treating you well, keep hydrated guys. Thanks Vivian. Hi Andy, I hope you're doing really well, and hi Emily. So the evidence is really quite mind-blowing, what is being established. System of international government fraud right around the world. But what I've found out over the last 24 hours or so is really, really fascinating. And part of my theory in what's happening is evolving slightly due to a star having been seen by one of my contacts. Now I know there's a lot of people seeing stars. You might have seen the videos on TikTok or wherever else, any other social media platforms, of unusual stars appearing and things being seen that would not normally have been seen. There's a particular star called Sirius, which is the brightest star normally in the night sky. I'm not too sure if this star relates to Sirius or if it is Sirius, but I've seen pictures of a star that seems to be getting bigger in all of this, and that's being monitored quite carefully at the moment, just in case it becomes relevant. And I am starting to consider that it may actually become relevant in all of this. So my whole way of thinking about the evidence is really trying to consider other theories around it, and particularly what I've found since that star. So that star was identified to me about, I'm guessing, a week ago, something like 5-6 days ago, something like that. Anyway, it seems to be, as I've said, unusually big in the sky, and I was actually, since then, I've been thinking about all of the evidence, and what I've found in the last 24 hours is pretty huge. So there's a website called Scribed, SCRIBD, I think it is. Now that website goes into huge information about conspiracies, talking about cults, the black nobility, crimes against children, huge subjects that obviously I've been covering for quite a while. And some of the information from that website has actually led to critical evidence tying back into what I've been exposing. But what I found on there, because something wasn't fitting right with me, and the website is probably the only website I've seen where you can see all of the information on the website without actually subscribing to it, but it won't allow you to copy and paste from the information that it's showing without subscribing. Now that is very unusual as far as I've been aware in my research over the last 4 years. So this got me obviously considering the relevance of this website. And as I've said, it goes into very, very big topics, tying into the evidence that I've been recently acquiring. Like I've said, particularly black nobility, how it links in with cults, and also how it links into esotericism, and also astrologically how it ties in. Anyway, this document had an original name that you can click on part of the document and go in and you can see what the original name is, and it comes back as a Greek word. Okay, and when you translate that word in the English alphabet, it's alphora. Now, in the middle of that word, you have the what is the equivalent of the F in the Greek alphabet, and when you isolate that figure or that letter, it actually symbolizes and makes the links into. I'm trying to remember exactly what it said because I haven't got it in front of me, but it makes a connection into the Fibonacci spiral and the Fibonacci frequency. Now, if you haven't heard of that before, then it ties into nature, design within nature, and there's an actual Fibonacci spiral that is tying into nature, and that spiral is the visual representation of the Fibonacci frequency. Anyway, this is right in the middle of this word on this document. So, of course, I was thinking, well, hold on, you've got a document, it's got an original name or a description of this Greek word, but the rest of the whole document's in English. So first of all, why have they used Greek? Why then change the document name? And why have this extremely symbolic reference within this word attached to this document? Now, you have to remember the big topics that this website linked to this document is what it's showing. And anyway, when you research this website, Scribed, it says that it's almost the Netflix of documents. Okay, so there's many, many millions of documents that can be uploaded to this website, and we haven't got many people on here. Netflix, by divine intervention, if you like, or divine timing, I happened to research it a couple of days ago. So let me just go over what I'm saying, so I don't get, because obviously I'm jumping around a little bit here, but it is all related. So let me just go over a little bit like that. So there's a website that we've been identifying that links to massive subjects, okay, Scribed. On one of the particular documents that I've been looking at, which becomes relevant through the research of it, it has a Greek word as the original description for that document. That Greek word becomes relevant in my research now. So the company is Scribed, and it is described as the Netflix of documents. Now, about 2 days prior to me identifying this today, I'd happened to research Netflix. And the reason, how did I actually stumble on researching it? There was something that cropped up. I'm just trying to remember. What was it actually? Oh, it was somebody. That was it. It's somebody sent me a clip of my favourite movie, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which came out in 1991. And within that movie, it talks about the day of judgment on Earth in relation to a nuclear war. If you haven't seen the movie, it's brilliant. If you love action movies and stuff like that, as I said, it's my favourite movie. And that date is the exact same date that Netflix was founded originally. It was in 1997 on, I think it was the 29th of August, 1997. Okay? Now, this is going to make, hopefully, a bit more sense and relevance as I go through with all of this. So within the movie, the Judgment Day, as I've said, 29th of August, 1997, or 28th, might be the 28th actually, 28th, sorry. All right, Netflix was founded on that exact same day. That is 2 days, it's either 2 days or 3 days. It might be the 29th, actually. It might have been I can't remember without looking at it. It's literally days before Princess Diana's death, all right, which is not going to be a coincidence with everything that I'm finding from this. So when you research Netflix, the founders of that organization linked to nuclear weapons by their family members. Now, bearing in mind, Judgment Day in that movie is in relation to nuclear weapons, everybody. All right, that's what Terminator 2 is about. It's about the machines taking control and they end up called Skynet, the computer system, and it ends up creating a nuclear war on Earth, or basically causes all of the nuclear weapons to fire. So Netflix, exactly the same day, linking to nuclear weapons via the research, obviously straight into the centralized criminal fraud. So that's not going to be a coincidence, is it? All right, it's not going to be a coincidence. Anyway, there's loads of other stuff from Netflix that I can't remember, but it becomes relevant. So going back to this website, Scribed, so it's described as the Netflix of documents. So people can upload, there's multi-millions of documents on this website. And it has this, as I've said, Greek word attached to the document. As I've said, the middle symbol represents a connection into, as I've said, the Fibonacci spiral of life, okay, which links to the not golden circle, I keep saying that, the golden ratio. Well, Golden Ratio Limited, a company on Companies House, immediately connects to me and immediately connects to the Doomsday Cults and immediately makes the connection to the research of Contact A in Australia. All right, so that's coming in from this middle symbol within this word that I happened to check because it didn't all make sense to me as to. Anyway, when you research that word, that Greek word, as I've said, it leads to the English equivalent as I've forgotten it now. Diaphora. Diaphora. D-I-A-F-O-R-A. Okay, D-O-R-F-R-I-A. Yeah. Now, if you split that into 3 sections, and I just happen to do this because of my other evidence, you have D-I-A. If you separate that, D-I-A, dia, then you separate 4, F-O-R, and then that leaves you with an A at the end, okay? Well, dia has already featured in my research, all right? It links into the Denver airport, which makes massive connections into the apocalypse element in all of this and how that ties back in with Doomsday, the swastika, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, how that ties back into the bloodline of Christ via the swastika research. You have the Lucifer statue at the front, which links into the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse research. Anyway, so deer had already become significant. Now it's got a meaning which I can't remember, but also becomes relevant in the research. When you actually look what that word alone means in I'm trying to remember if I've got this all right. This is the trouble with not having the information in front of me. Most of it I've got right. I'm just trying to think if the actual word is diaphora. Yeah, it is diaphora. Diaphora. Oh no, hold on. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten now. I should have had it in front of me. Okay. All right, I won't go into specific, but it's all becoming relevant. But whatever the word is, it then leads through Companies House straight into the centralized criminal network. Okay, straight into the centralized criminal network. Now, when you come in from the founder of the company, it makes the link to that word through the Companies House records. Right, so the founder of the Scribed website that's telling the world with this information, with these documents, about the connections into the black nobility and supporting a lot of the stuff I'm saying, connects to the international government fraud straight away and also straight to the NHS. Okay, the NHS, which means Deborah Fleming, which means my investigation. Right, so it comes back to me again, not only via the founder of that company, Prescribed, but also by the Greek word. When you research that through the Companies House records, it links to a healthcare company that goes to the NHS again. All right. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that those behind this entire centralized criminal system is positioning all of the information that we are seeing, including the information that supports my evidence in relation to the crimes that have been going on and how it goes back in history. So, of course, this sort of changes things. Now, I've known that the information control is massive to them, and this just proves that you literally have full manipulation of the information on Earth. Full control. Everything's been centralized by the people behind the criminal system, linking into it as well. So, but that means they're positioning information that risks exposing themselves to the entire criminal network. But very importantly to understand, and I know this is hard to really believe until you've looked at all of the evidence, every single area of research comes back to me. Not just me, but it seems now a second person. Every single bit of research, I can find a link. Some of it's immediate, like to connections that would not be there unless they were deliberately put there, unless they were either deliberately or divinely put there. So I'm probably not making a lot of sense. But at every area I come in from now, there are connections back into me, not only to me, but to the 13th century Knights Templar building, which links to the former school that I was at, which connects to the Waterman offshore company, which then had loads of addresses around me in my life. So this is very important. This is very, very important, because the 13th century was a critical time in the research. Critical time, linking in with a battle, linking in with my dream of 1333, tying to the Flemings, and then information around that time, linking into them hiding information in of the blood of the children, tying into vampirism. Now, I'm going to come back to some other information about that in a minute. Hi, I'm just going to read the comments. Hi, Bridal Fuller. Great to have you here from Belfast. I hope you're doing really well. Great to have you. There's hardly anyone on here for whatever reason. Not too sure. Normally have a lot more people, but I'll keep going. Someone put the Book of Enoch tells us stars are luminaries plasma. Thank you, Carla. Flat Earth X. Well, the stars are definitely relating into this in multiple ways. This particular star, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on, because, you know, if it's getting close now, it says that Sirius is moving 5.5 kilometers closer to our solar system I think it says every second, so either every second or every minute. That means that star is, if it is about the star that it's because it is saying it's the star, is moving very, very quickly towards Earth. But they said that it won't be at its closest until I think they said 30 to 60,000 years away from now. Anyway, Sirius makes the reference to the Truman Show. So when the light falls from the ceiling or the dome in the Truman Show movie, it has Sirius written on it. So a star falling from the heavens, from the sky, representing that star was that light. Now, it's almost guaranteed that Jim Carrey was representing Christ in that movie, and where he was identifying the deception within the illusion around him within the world that was created. So the actors, and the fact that he was in a dome, and then he had a fear of water, but eventually I think he went across the water, didn't he, to actually escape the dome. Now, the director, one of the directors, the co-director, was a Rothschild, which means it links immediately to me, because the Rothschilds connect via home start companies on the Company's House records, and those home start companies connect back to what I've just told you about, my former school. This is immediately my former school, as I've said, and the 13th century Knights Templar location called Temple Manor in Strood in Rochester. Go and look at it if you want to have a look at it. Temple Manor. But it also connects immediately to Contact A in Australia as well via that link. So the Rothschilds are right there. Now, so Jim Carrey has this light falling from the sky, which represents, it looks like, the star Sirius. We have the information of Sirius supposedly getting closer to Earth very, very quickly from the sounds of it. So, and the Sirius link, I'm trying to remember, Sirius go, I think actually checking Sirius, I'd have to check this, but I'm pretty sure Sirius on Company's House makes a link back to person A and myself. And every star that I've looked at so far that ties in with the Knights Templar, with the Black Nobility that we've looked at, also the Wormwood. There's a Wormwood Limited company. If you're not aware of Wormwood, then that mentions a celestial body tying into the scripture, it all comes back to us again. This isn't going to be a coincidence. There's over 5 million registered companies. There's multi millions of people on Companies House, and yet I make these connections from every angle very, very quickly. So the stars are very important in this. Carlos Flatter has put, the Book of Solomon describes the shooting stars as demons. Thanks, Carla. Susan Grove, take pictures of it. Thanks, Susan. Yes, somebody else. I haven't seen it because of where I am. It's always cloudy. It'd be nice if I can see it as well. I will definitely be keeping an eye out. But I'm getting sent images from one of my contacts as they are outside, showing me the images. So I will try and actually see it myself. But before I was being sent those images directly from this contact who I trust at the moment, I have no reason to distrust this person. And all of the information is proving critical in relation to them, and they're doing all of the right things that I can see. So there is no reason for me not to trust at all what this person is saying. But the star is massive in the picture that I've seen. And when I say massive, I mean, you know, bigger than anything else in the sky. But what was I going to say on that point? But I will be keeping an eye out for it myself. Hi, Donna. Hope you're doing okay. Thank you very much for coming on. Carla's put Fibonacci pattern interlocking logarithmic spirals that radiate from the center. Thank you, Carla. Yeah, it relates to mathematics a lot as well, doesn't it? And yeah, everything. When I've researched pi, for example, as in the area of a circle, it comes back to us. When you research a yin and yang, it comes back to us. It's really quite unbelievable. It's really quite. Sounds crazy, but it's all there. So anyway, hey, all just arrived. Don't know what I've missed. Nuclear weapons don't exist. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, that's my feelings on all of this now. I don't believe nuclear weapons have ever existed, personally. Funny enough, I had information today that suggests that something that's not on this Earth, shall we say, has been removing the nuclear weapons from Earth. Okay, read into that what you will. There is a theory I'm building surrounding all of this, but I'm not going to start talking about it quite yet until I've thought a bit more about it, how it may link in with the alien side of things and everything else. But yeah, I need to think about it a bit more because it's pretty huge what I'm thinking now. So, hi Archie baby. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for your comment. Hi Big Smoke. I hope you're well. Thank you for your comment. Thanks for joining me. Someone's put, check out Scott L. Water. He's found Knights Templar. Oh, let's have a look at that. Sorry, dropped my. Check out Scott L. Waters. He's found Knights Templar glass with Jesus words. That's interesting. Like I said, I'm moving forward a little bit cautiously now, because if they're planting information to expose themselves in a huge way, linking into my evidence, then that means there's going to be some other motive or theory going on with everything, all right? Because they're exposing themselves to evil deliberately with the evidence that I can do to support it all. So, and it's all time back to me. So, you know, don't forget, I've got this evidence of the from my ring linking into suggesting that I may have bloodline of Christ and Lucifer within me. And this ring, just in case, just to recap that a little bit. So this ring I was given by people massively linked into whatever's going on Earth, all right? So these were the same people that linked in with David Icke, linked in with Julian Assange, the Doomsday Cult, in with the people behind the centralized criminal system, tying in with the blood of the children, you know. So they gave me this ring for a reason. Now that ring leads to a document of the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. And it says within that document that the bloodline includes the blood of Lucifer and of Christ. Now, there's other connections from the ring, including links in through, and this is by the engravings on the ring. That's what I'm talking about. So there's two sets of engravings on the ring. One of them is G and S something or other. G and S. I can't remember what it is exactly. It's tiny on there. I've had to zoom in on it. The other inscription is a 9 CT, but there's a T with it, I think, and an underscore. Anyway, it links into the Vatican. It ties into the intelligence agencies from at least 3 different angles. The person that introduced me to my wife, Lisa Morton, it links in with COVID, and it connects to the testing for the horse meat scandal of 2013 for testing the meat. All coming in like really big subjects. There's some other stuff, and I can't remember what it is now. Anyway, so they made a point of giving me this ring, those behind the centralized criminal system. And this was obviously done deliberately, because they would have known that maybe I was going to find some evidence linking back to that ring. I didn't quite realize how big it was going to be. You've also got the links into the, just to recap a little bit, the Lord of the Rings. So the movies, the first one came out in 2001, same year as the World Trade Center disaster, Fellowship of the Ring. Second one came out called Two Towers the year afterwards, the year after the two towers had collapsed. And the third one came out, I think it was 2003, called The Return of the King. Now, the writer for the books, the original books for those movies, they lived in Bournemouth, and they died, lived in Bournemouth when my investigation began, and they died in Bournemouth. And they used to be a regular visitor to the Miramar Hotel. This is J.R.R. Tolkien. And the Miramar Hotel, they made a point of taking me into the Miramar Hotel during my investigation. And these were the same people that owned a flat, or claimed to own a flat, in the building where Jimmy Savile had a property. And they took me, I'm pretty 99% sure they took me into Jimmy Savile's flat as part of my investigation, claiming it was theirs. That property, which is the Elizabeth Court building in Bournemouth, big block of flats. If you know Bournemouth, you'll know it, on the East Cliff. And that links immediately to Exbourne Manor via the Company's House records. It links into the Russian government. It links into the royal family. It links into the evidence of the death of Daniel Morgan in 1987, which was 10 years after I was born. I don't think there's going to be any coincidence with any of this. It links into the phone hacking scandal from the death of Daniel Morgan. And that phone hacking scandal makes multiple connections to other deaths and missing children, Millie Dowler, for example, and several other massive high-profile cases on Earth. Bear with me. So I've screenshot that. Thank you very much, Susan Grove. I will check that out. Thank you. Someone's put, Walter said he was not all human. Interesting. Thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. Do I watch the football? Liam's put, no, I've never watched the football. I've never been into football, to be honest with you. No, I played it quite a lot, but no, never really got into football. Appointed kings, someone's put, appointed kings anode, Vatican cathode, the current flow, Templars aren't Catholics anymore. Sirius Dog Star, yes, it is called the dog in the Dog Star galaxy, isn't it? In the Sirius star, it's very relevant in all of this, the Sirius in it, and it represents and links into Sophia, which is the feminine divinity, as I understand it, within humanity, which links in with Christ. And it's very clear that they have tried to remove, according to all of the research anyway, the feminine divinity of moral conscience within humanity. This ties in with the information in relation to the Last Supper, and how it seems that Mary Magdalene may have actually been in that painting, and they've tried to make it seem like a man, and how this links in with the Da Vinci Code movie and the Knights Templar again, and the hidden bloodline of Christ. Just reading through the comments. Octagon, someone's mentioned Octagon. Yeah, Octagon features massively through my document, through the research, definitely all part of this. The entire criminal system has been centralized, the entire world system. I'm now getting certain theories about how the cloning may tie into this, and how it may relate to all of the other stuff that I'm finding. It's really quite fascinating, the picture I'm starting to build in all of this, and how it goes back right to the beginning, potentially to the start of creation. But I'm just going to hold off on my theory that's building at the moment. Kim Hooper's put, everything I'm saying is correct. Thank you very much, Kim. Appreciate it. Mary has put, hello, Gary. Hi, everyone. Hi, Mary. Hope you're doing really well. Thanks very much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Hello and welcome to everyone joining the stream. Thanks, Vivian. Morning. Hi, William Wallace. Hope you're doing well. William Wallace. Yeah, absolutely. Scotland and Braveheart. Again, one of my favourite movies. Up there in my top 5. Talking of which, Gladiator is one of my favourite movies as well. Came out in 2000. That links to Ridley Scott, its director, and my mum via her employer connects to Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott's brother was born in Chatham, which is where I was born. Chatham is massively important in relation to the international government network and the fraud. The two most important places on earth in relation to what I'm actually uncovering in terms of the evidence is Kent, where I was born, because of Sittingbourne, with a link to the vampirism, and where I was born in Chatham, right by it. And obviously that's where the Knights Templar location is, which is the Temple Manor in Strood, and Hampshire, which is right next to Dorset, and where the currency production began in 1711 with a company called Portals, which in 1724 started to actually produce the currency for the Bank of England. That was 1724. And then 1725, you start having the invasion, I suppose, according to the information, of the Northern America, which started from Hampshire in the south of England, where that investigation began with me, where it was in Dorset next door, but it's all relates because of Deborah Fleming being the NHS chief executive for all three counties there, all three areas, Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset, and then resigning or retiring from the NHS as a chief executive. And then suddenly she's in a meeting in my investigations at Exbourne Manor. Now, this is somebody who is linked to James Bond, everybody. This is going back to 007, which makes the link back into the 1500s with John Dee, and evidence going back further now, linking to the Flemings to the 1300s and the same period as the Knights Templar location, and a dream that I had out of the blue of 1333 that woke me up and then led me to that evidence through a battle in 1333, tying the Flemings back to that year. So, yeah. Do you believe in the hollow earth theory, Vivian's put? I have no information or evidence to support it. I haven't looked into it, if I'm being honest with you. I'm still trying to get my head around you know, some of the other things. I'm gradually trying to build my, you know, I need to start with the ground level basics of the evidence, and then as I've gone through, I was obviously started to find massive things that I would never thought I'd be talking about coming off of that. So maybe that's something I will come to at some point. But it's important I do that, because what I need to do is show the world through the evidence as to what the theory is and who I may be and others may be in relation to this through that evidence, which can be verified and corroborated. Someone put, well, let me tell you, England's going to win the World Cup. That's interesting, Liam. If they do, yes. So you think they might be setting that up? It's all going to be staged, obviously. I think football, certainly in international football and high-profile football, has always been staged, I suspect. Does anyone else wonder what really happened to Rod Hull, the emu chap? Hi, Lisa. I don't know. If anyone doesn't know who he is, I remember when I was a kid, he had Emu, the puppet, and he was it in a lighthouse, I think, at one point? And then he supposedly fell from the roof of his building, of his home, I think it was, wasn't it? Supposedly, that's what I heard, but I haven't looked into it, to be honest with you. It's bound to be relevant in all of this. Every single thing I'm looking at is linking into this. It's really quite incredible. And what I mean by linking into it is literally it's going back in through the Company's House records, linking to me for starters, but linking into the same companies in all of this. So yeah, it's pretty, every single thing I'm looking at. Chernobyl disaster, tying in all the same name, not even just the same companies, you've got the same names on incorporation documents showing how it's all connected. Someone's put Janine Prophecies was just saying about CERN, and the demonic energy was partly to make people sterile, and that it will take a while for everything to correct itself, but it did what it was programmed to do. So some sort of population control technology from the sounds of it, according to that then. Lisa's put, apparently he was fixing an area. Oh, sorry, I didn't see this, Lisa. Fixing an area on his roof to watch a football match. I had a dream the other night, and a guy was walking down the road with an emu, and it made me remember him. Interesting. That's probably going to be relevant that you had that dream then, Lisa. That's going to be okay, very interesting. Hi, Diamond Panther. I hope you're doing okay, mate. I haven't spoken to you for a while. I hope you're well. Hope everything's going okay your end, Diamond Panther. Thanks very much for coming on. Unfortunately, I'm not on WhatsApp at the moment, so it's more difficult for me to have direct contact with people. But everyone, and I have had some contact in the last couple of days, which is fantastic, actually. So I'm going to be doing, I hope, some interviews with people who have got bigger platforms than I have, it looks like, again. So thanks very much to those people that have contacted me. If you do want to contact me, then you can on Messenger, which is through Facebook, obviously. And it's Gary for Freedom. So that's Gary with one R, the word for followed by freedom. And just go through on my Messenger and I'll be able to pick your messages up. Gary, did you manage to look into the Jesus slave ship? Not yet, I'm afraid. No, it's still on I've got a massive, massive list of things to look at. But of course, now, if I'm establishing that the people behind all of the information, controlling every bit of information, then I'm sort of starting to think, okay, well, if they're behind all of that, there's a reason that we're seeing everything we are. And what I've now got to start to build the theory of is, why is it all connected to me? What is it I need to do with that? What is it they're aiming for? How does it link in with aliens, with the blood of the children, the Vatican, CERN? I've got to try and work out the connection. And I've got a pretty good idea. I think I'm heading to the right theory in this, I think. But obviously it could change. But I'm not going to disclose at the moment my theory, because I still, as I said, need to have a little think about it. So someone's put KGP, King James Biblical James Bond. KGB King, this is Kintel, thanks Kintel. Kinhell, sorry. KGB King James Biblical James Bond. KGB King, okay, thank you. I'm going to screenshot that. Bread and Circus. Never heard of that before. It's interesting. Thank you. Pink Windmill Show with Grot Bags. That was it. Grot Bags. I used to really like that program. When was that? Must have been mid to late 80s. No, how old? So I was born in 77. It's got to be mid to late 80s, isn't it? Mid to late 80s, I'm guessing. M33 Limited, someone's put. Masonic Football Puppets. M33 Limited. Thank you. I've screenshot that just in case. But I'm starting to hold off on the research now, and I'm just starting to formulate a theory based on all of it. So I'm going to be trying to not do so much research, put everything into one document, possibly build get the document out, obviously, possibly build a chronological timeline from the evidence to then see if it fits my theory in all of this as we move forward. And I will be watching the star very, very closely. That star, I think, I've got quite a feeling that star is going to become very relevant in this. So, yeah, those of you have seen it, keep an eye on it. Now, prior to me getting the images, I was going to say earlier, prior to me getting to the images of this contact, I was already seeing videos of people seeing unusual stars that they hadn't noticed before around the moon and stuff like that. So I think it's going to end up being important. There's one of three things that's going to be, I think. Obviously, either it's a star that's posing a threat to creation. I don't think that's going to be the case. I believe that all previous mass extinction level events have never been real. I don't believe, I'm now considering that the threats that they've made me perceive to be real from them haven't been real potentially. I'm not saying they're not at the moment, because I've got to be very careful, obviously, because if I don't think there's any threat whatsoever, then I won't come forward potentially with who I may be in all of this. So I've got to be very cautious, and I think they are, trying to make me believe in a threat so that obviously I do what I need to do, whatever that may be when the time comes. Anyway, it's either going to be a star that poses a threat to Earth. Let's go with the other. It could be a divine intervention, so it could be a true creator event coming in relation to that star. Now, when I will mention this quickly, when I was doing a lot of my evidence gathering and I was in contact with a lot of people, there was a lot of people that were coming in being directed into me that were obviously part of whatever is the truth in this. And one of those people said that there would be an end to not the world as in the world will literally, everyone will die and there'll be an end of the world, but there will be an end of the old world and a new world and they described it as two bubbles converging or joining. Right, so two circular, because a bubble is obviously a circle, two bubbles or circles joining together. Now, bearing in mind what I've just said about a star, and we've got it coming towards Earth, and they're telling us that supposedly it is traveling at 5.5 kilometers per second, I think, towards the Earth. So now this is the same person that was trying to get me to believe in aliens, okay, linking in with Sacha Stone, who links in with the black nobility. But there was also evidence linking them into the blood of the children in this, okay. So I'm now trying to sort of think of all of these things that have been said to me. It was the same people that were trying to get me to believe in a galactic federation, okay, which obviously is ties in with the alien side of things. Now, there is a theory I'm working on all of this, all right, that actually could fit everything that I'm seeing, but we'll see. I just need a bit more time to formulate everything and, you know, just to consider what I'm thinking. Someone's put Gary, I don't know if I answered all the questions yet. Gary, oh yeah, it meant... Oh, sorry, what's that? Gary, who are GBOL? All I can find is DNA biology, etc. Someone said it sounds like transhumanism. I haven't heard of GBOL, if I'm being honest. I haven't heard of them, but I will screenshot that. But I am now very skeptical about any of the information I'm looking at. You know, because I'm now considering... Why are they pointing it all towards me is a big question. Why set up all of these companies' house records linking to me? So that's something I'm trying to formulate, and how it links in with the stars and everything else, and why they're exposing themselves to this, okay, to what seems to be the crimes against the children and everything else. So I'm going to, like I've said, I'm going to hold fire on too much research and just think, you know, just have a real good think, maybe look at the existing evidence, and just try and see if my theory that I'm formulating fits everything. And I think it does, but we'll keep moving forward in that. I'm guessing that's a code for... Oh, Jesus certainly did not have a slave ship. So I'm guessing that's a code for some intelligence agency up to no good, someone said. Thanks, Vivian. I noticed with several PSYOPs and addresses are all linked to 71 to 75 Shelton Street. Thank you. I'm glad other people are looking at Company's House now. This is brilliant. Yeah, so that address links to NATO and to the United Nations. Now, it's absolutely obvious that the entire system, including all of the government's organisations, have been set up right from the outset in relation to whatever this agenda is, okay? Right from the outset. It's all been set up around this and how it ties in with the religious establishments, etc., and how that is now linking with the stars and everything else. So yeah, that address is a really important address, 71 to 75 Shelton Street, Covent Gardens in London. It's massively linked into multiple areas of the research. I haven't got it in front of me, but they're critical parts of the research as well. So, and how I do that is literally when I find the address, I'm creating notes of where that address is featured from what area of research, and listing it, cross-referencing it through my document, and then every time I find it again, I add that element of the research into the cross-reference section, and then I've got it, you see, and I can then pull that and add it into the document and show every step of the way how, when people are reading it, wow, okay, that fits into that. Well, that's not going to be a coincidence, is it? You know what I mean? And it's starting to get people, because it can all be verified, so it's starting to get people to build the picture of the truth in all of this and how it all relates together. Anyone else heard about Lebanon? Hi, William. I saw a video about one of the biggest explosions apparently on Earth that's not a nuclear weapon. Saw the video on that. Take everything with a pinch of salt at the moment. This is part of my theory about what I'm building, about how much of what we're seeing is actually real and how much isn't, and why they would be portraying it as real when it isn't. This all is starting to fit in with what I'm thinking. What about all the secret intelligence links to the UK column and its millionaire funder, Marielle Janis, based in China? Oh, thanks, Derek. I wasn't aware of that. I knew that the UK column was implicated. I knew that the UK column was implicated, and Brian Gerrish. I actually spoke to Brian Gerrish on the phone months ago and and said, look, can you assist me in exposing the fraud? It's linking in with the crimes against the children. He refused to do so, got very angry at me. Anyway, I then found evidence linking him into everything. And he actually ties in with some information very relevant into Devon and Cornwall, but also he's linked into the Navy, which means Ian Fleming link. Ian Fleming was massive in the Navy, linking into the intelligence agencies. And that makes the link to Chatham as well, where I was born, because you've got Chatham dockyards there. And where Chatham's dockyards are, you've got St Mary's Island. St Mary's Island is owned by the Royals, and that's where one of my friends lives, who I believe is a descendant of J.P. Morgan's family, and he refused to even assist me with exposing the evidence, because I didn't know this at the time. I then researched his family and found critical links in from him. Now, he links to this is somebody that I was introduced to when I was a teenager by my friend Christopher Gamay, and Andrew Morgan. Someone in his family supposedly committed suicide. Sorry, Andrew, if you're seeing this, but I've got to, unfortunately, I'm not getting any help from the government organisation, so I have to just give full disclosure of I can't worry about who I expose in this. I've just got to move forward with full exposure. So anyway, this St Mary's Island, you've got Chatham dockyards there, and St Mary's Island then makes links back into me with there's multiple links to me and King Charles now in all of this, and the royal family. Andrew Morgan linked into the Royal Yachting Association. That then made a link to a name of Andrew something Cohen, which made a connection to the rapid response teams and back into my families. So it's all very, very quickly connected. And then that links into to the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table that was founded in 1720, which fits in with, like I've said, the currency producer Portals in 1711, producing the currency for the Bank of England in 1724. Well, 4 years earlier is when the Royal Society of the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table was set up, and then it was 1725, the year after, that it was producing the money for the Bank of England. That you had the Jason Russell battle in Northern America, tying in with the 13 bloodline states, or 13 states, shall we say, that was created then in Northern America as a result of those supposed battles. I'm now starting to consider, were those battles even real? That's how the level of where I'm starting to head with this on my theory in this. Let's just say they are for now, but I'm now starting to consider that the deception goes back a very long way, how it goes back a long way, why it goes back a long way, how it ties into me. I mean, I've gone back, the furthest I've gone back now is 4,400 BC, which links into me. And I'll just explain how that is. So an article from this website made a link to the black nobility into loads of other subjects. I'm trying to remember them now. Bear with me. Trying to remember where the other... I can't remember because I don't want to give you some information that I haven't actually written down. But anyway, right there you have the Black Sun mentioned within that information. When you research the Black Sun on Company's House, Black Sun Limited, straight to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, immediately on the incorporation document via Jordans and Sons. Okay, and then when you go in through that company, there's loads of other connections going in that cannot be ignored. So this means technically there's a potential connection to 4,400 BC, which is what I'm going to be talking about. Let me just come on to that actually. Shall I say it now? Yeah, let me talk about it now so I don't forget. So 4,400 BC, this information linking into black nobility, it mentions vampirism, okay, tying in with the Black Sun, so which now links into Exmoor Manor. Right now, there'd already been multiple links to vampirism, into Exmoor Manor, into the blood of the children. You got Tramp to Vamp. Go and look at it if you don't believe me. Tramp to Vamp, as in the number 2 in the middle. It was originally incorporated on Company's House on the 13th of September 2001, which is 2 days after the World Trade Center disaster, and it goes straight to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited on its incorporation document, the exact same companies. Now, I established that, I come across that research of that company, found it coming in from the illegal organ harvesting, tying in with the NHS. All right, so Anyway, there's multiple links into vampirism now, and so we've now got this link to 4400 BC. Now, that mentions vampirism. So if we then come forward, that is over 4,000, nearly 4,390 years before Christ was around. All right. So you have all of this information, 3,500, nearly 4,000 years, mentioning vampirism. Now, this comes into around the time of Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar was so supposedly assassinated in 44 BC. Okay. So Christ was born around 6 to 4 BC. So this is well before Christ was even born. And Julius Caesar was supposedly assassinated. The same initials as Jesus Christ. Okay. And he, that 44 BC, the year 44 translates through history to critical times. So just an example, 1944, the D-Day landings, linking into Doomsday, which links into me. All right, that links into Ghislaine Maxwell, the research of Ghislaine Maxwell, tying into the Apple connection into us, which links to the North and South Pole, into gravitational fields and all sorts. So the 44 connection is important. So 44 BC, Julius Caesar died. 4 to 6 BC, Christ is born. Around this sort of period, is it this period? Sorry, a bit before that, a bit before Christ is born, there is the Pantheon starts to be conceived. This is a building that was originally a pagan temple. Okay, this starts to be built, and then it later in AD becomes a homage to Christianity. Okay, so anyway, Pantheon. Now the Pantheon company links into myself from Contact A. All right, via the research. There's a Pantheon International PLC, I think it's called, right, which is the same name as this building, where you have the all-seeing eye connection through the oculus. Because in the top of that building, they left a 9-meter opening, which then links to a view and a portal or a view, shall we say, to the heavens and the stars from the Pantheon. Go and look at it if you want to have a little bit of a confirmation as to what I'm telling you. Or that allows the sun to come through at a key time on the 21st of April each year. The sun shines through that on a particular part of the entrance. Now the 21st of April becomes critical. The 21st of April was the date of Queen Elizabeth II's birthday, apparently, but also it is the date of the original founding of Rome, which was in 643, I think, BC. Okay, BC. So anyway, Jesus then or Christ, I don't think Jesus is going to be the real name. I think Julius Caesar, that might have been taken from Julius Caesar as some sort of a mockery. Whether Julius Caesar was real, or if he was real, why was he assassinated? Was he trying to ensure that moral conscience was ingrained within the system that they were starting to form, right? Because this is all about moral conscience, everyone. You really need to understand how the moral conscience, I believe, is the creator through us, and that the system has removed that through the irrationality and the lack of clarity, clouding our natural ability to understand right and wrong and implement that in our life. And I think this goes right back to what I'm talking about now, because you have 6,000 BC, for example, 7,000 BC, alcohol was starting to be produced, and we know the Romans massively loved their alcohol. They also were involved, according to the research, in orgies. So you had the sexual immorality, potentially, although they might not have recognized it so much then. Of course, we now realize that it's disrespectful to somebody to be sleeping around with loads of different people when you're in a relationship. It's not only disrespectful, it goes against your own DNA ingrained moral conscience, because you wouldn't want it done to you. All right, it's quite simple, isn't it? You don't want it done to you, you don't do it onto to others. It's very, very simple. So back then, they loved their orgies. According to the research, alcohol was a massive part of their lives. So you can see how you're starting to get the satanic element creeping into the formation of societies back in Rome in this time. And then suddenly, Christ is there. All right, so I suspect that the creator identified what was happening, sent Christ to earth, to make them realize the errors of their ways. They then believed that they had ended potentially the bloodline of Christ by killing him, not realizing that there was already a conceived child. which leads to where we are today in all of this. So he was then died. Now he was, he was born 4 to 6 BC, I believe, from the research. He then was 7 in 7 8. Sorry, he was then 13. Sorry, in 7 AD. Well, that's 007, everybody. All right, that's 7 AD is 007. All right, which ties back in. So now we've got this link back in from the 13th century side of things, coming into the 15th century, because John Dee was the apparent origin, but it looks as though I think it's going back to 7 AD. I think this is why, very likely, the 13 number is so important, because that ties with Christ being 13, and it ties with 7 AD, which ties with 007. Okay, and then so he was then 30, which, what year would that have been? So he was then 30 when he started his ministry, and he supposedly died when he was 33. So I was 30 when I was introduced, and it was a staged introduction to Exbourne Manor, which links to 007 because of the links that I've said previously, with the Casino Royale movie coming out the year before in 2006, the same year as the release as the Da Vinci Code movie. And the Casino Royale was the first time that a movie mentioned the origin of 007 in a movie. And now that was the first book that was written, though. Ian Fleming wrote that book, the first book, Casino Royale, but they didn't make the movie in 2006. The exact same year that I moved from Kent to Dorset, and then the next year, suddenly it's 007, right? 2007, sorry, 2007. The same year that Madeleine McCann went missing. The only time you could have had that previously is 1007, 1,000 years earlier, and then the year I've just told you about, 007, 7 AD, when Christ was 13 years old. So I was 30 then when I was introduced to Exbourne Manor and to my wife. It was all staged. That was 2007, and they then, once they knew I was in Exbourne Manor, they then created the company, which links into the Vatican via Anthony de Rea, who's on the incorporation document. Go and look at it. Okay, go and look at the incorporation document of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, the company where I'm a director. Go and look at the last page of the People Record. You'll see my name if you don't believe me. On the incorporation document, you'll find it in the filing history. Go and look at the names. You have Anthony de Rea. Well, the de Rea link I later found tying into the Vatican, into the blood of the children, and that was coming in from the research of the death of Jill Dando, is how I found that evidence. And everyone around Jill Dando is linked into the international government fraud, but not Jill Dando. As far as I could see, I could find no connections to Jill Dando herself. Even her brother was linked straight into the centralized criminal network and how it ties in with all of this. So loads of things happened from 2007 when I was introduced and moved into Exbourne Manor, where was I going to go with that? 2008, I ended up going to Paris in the Louvre Museum, which has the 2 pyramids, which then links into Mary Magdalene, same initials as Madeleine McCann. And then in 2009, you had the second movie of the Da Vinci Code series, which was called Angels and Demons, came out, which was about CERN and the Vatican. And this was the year that I actually became a director of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. So this looks as though this was now timed with this movie, how that links into the Da Vinci Code and the bloodline of Christ. And then 2009, you had the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which links all areas of the fraud pretty much to me via the research. That's when it was incorporated, just over 2 weeks after I became a director of Exbourne Manor. 2 days later, they then repealed a section of the Fraud Act, which also began in 2006. Okay, so when I moved from Kent to Dorset, one of the first elements of training I had in the police was the 2006 Fraud Act that they had just created that year. And then they repealed the act, or the section of the act, which is section 10 of the 2006 Fraud Act. Go and look at it. And that related to corporations. Okay, so I identified this later and of course made the connection that that would facilitate the laundering of the money in relation to the criminal network. I now have to consider they knew I was going to find that, or they put it there so that I would find it, to identify all of this and identify who I am and make all of these connections together. 2009 is also when you had the there's quite a few things. You had the expenses scandal, okay, of the government. So it was all coming out about the members of parliament were fiddling the system basically with your tax. So basically stealing the tax from you. Right, this came out in 2009, and one of the key MPs involved in that was Harriet Harman in terms of discussing the MP scandals. And Harriet Harman is the one that is connected to the paedophile information exchange and to the World Trade Center disaster, and is a friend of supposedly my wife's auntie, who's called Lynn Proctor. And they tried to get me to send my evidence from 2003 through Lynn so that she could get Harriet Harman, who is a friend of hers, the MP, to actually then look at the evidence and potentially publicise it to the government. All right, well, at this time, I'd already started to identify connections to Harriet Harman, to the fraud, and to the paedophile information exchange. So I put this across to Lynn, my wife's auntie, and she said, oh, no, she wouldn't know anything about that. Well, Lynn, she's too implicated from my research. And it was Harriet Harman. Again, this was staged, I believe. Harriet Harman was one of 650 MPs, only one of 650 MPs, so that responded to my email during my emails that I was sending. So I sent multiple emails to around 650 members of Parliament, and on one of those emails, Harriet Harman was the only person to respond. I now think that was deliberate to get me to identify and make the connection to everything that I've been finding and actually expose her. I mean, it exposes her, of course, but it exposes everything I'm telling you about. And this actually fits into the motive that I am and the theory surrounding all of this that I'm starting to form, and how this relates to me in quite a huge, significant way. And how it links in with aliens, and how it links in with the blood, and how it links in with the collider, etc., etc. So that all came from you mentioning this. I do love to waffle, don't I? My goodness me, I do know how to talk. Suppose you're all still here, falling asleep. So the that all came from that message from the intelligence agency, that comment. I remember the pink windmill. Yes, I remember that as well. Charlton and the Wheelies. Never heard of Charlton and the Wheelies. What's that one? I don't remember that one, Andy. Yes, bro, I'm good. I'm glad you're okay, Diamond, and I'm good. I have taken out the headmaster of the school, Southeast, also a councillor too, almost close to an MP, and currently going after food supply chain, a factory supplying all the restaurants. Fantastic. Well done, Diamond. Well done for what you're doing. William Wallace has put M33 is the Freemasonry. No need to screenshot. It's just my name for them. Ah, right. Okay. Thanks, William. Thank you. I thought that was a company. Sorry. Thanks. Yeah, 33 number. Very relevant, as we've suggested. Christ was 33 when he died. I was 33 when I went from Exbourne Manor, which is in Christchurch Road, and Exbourne Manor with the X bloodline Christ connection link via the symbolism. Moved to Christchurch that year when I was 33, and then went to Christchurch in New Zealand that same year, and then they then created CERN Limited a month and 1 day after my birthday, after my 33rd birthday, on the 29th of November 29th of November 2010. They incorporated the CERN Limited company, which links to the Large Hadron Collider, etc. That organization connects to Jeffrey Epstein, to Peter Mandelson, to John Fleming, who's the husband of Deborah Fleming, who initiated my removal. They then dissolved that company in 2024 as I was exposing everything. Anyway, so that was 2010 when I was 33. And then the next year is when the Christchurch earthquake happened on the 22nd of February, 2011. And of course, Jimmy Savile died later that year. All tied in, right? Jimmy Savile, don't forget, is connected directly into me via Exbourne Manor. It links in with the royal family via that building in Bournemouth. It also connects into the Robert F. Kennedy's company immediately as well. We're talking immediately, everybody. This isn't just like a coincidence of 100 companies away. We're literally talking the exact same company linked to the building where Jimmy Savile was, and therefore me and Exbourne Manor. Remember, that was a staged introduction to Exbourne Manor. So they wanted me to be living in a property linked to Jimmy Savile, because it looks like they knew who I was in all of this. Someone put Gary. Oh, it's Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Gary, I came across something in my phone archives I think could be worth looking into. Thanks, Lisa. Yep, send me a message, please, and I will take a look at it. Yeah, well done, Diamond. Well done. You've got someone else saying well done. I'm in a strong male standing up. I'm a strong male, sorry, standing up, doing what's right to protect people. Honestly, it's oh, that's you, Diamond, to somebody else. Sorry, I forgot you were talking to someone else there. Sirius is the dog star. It is to do with heat waves and the sun. Thanks very much, Terry. Interesting. Wow, NATO. Yeah, absolutely, Kate. Yeah, links in with NATO, United Nations. Now, the UNICEF was founded in 1946, which is supposedly the organisation to protect children in times of international conflicts. Now, it's either an inversion, and they've been targeting all of the children through those conflicts in relation to the blood of the children and all of my evidence, or that's all deception for me to identify it because of who I am. Still working on that theory. I'd be naive not to think that there aren't some crimes going on against children in all of this. So at the moment, I've still got to perceive that all of this evil has actually been going on. Now, parts of the theory is that the evil was deliberately to bring about the creator, which is I'm building into my theory in all of this, and how that ties in with the aliens and side as well. For anyone want to know, look up Henry Novak's father, Axel Run. Interesting. Henry Novak's father, Axel Rumbanka's father. Look at that. Thank you. I haven't done a lot of research on. Henry Novak is the fairly recent death, isn't it? On the driveway in front of the house where the police turn up and they just handcuff him. He's saying he's been stabbed, and they don't really check for injuries and try and save him. I've thought that was staged straight from the outset, but I haven't actually gone into depth. So that's interesting if you're referring to that, or are you referring to, because there is an Axel in relation to the stabbings of the Southport side of things in 2024. So I don't know, or maybe that all connects then. I don't know. I'll have a look at what you said anyway. Somebody put Henry Novak is a paid op. Nicola Bulley's partner and Paul Boyle or Doyle, the Liverpool car attack. Nicola Bulley's partner. Yeah, I've already looked into. It's interesting that you're saying this because I've already. Nicola Bulley case is obviously part of all of this massively. So if you don't know, she's the lady that went missing along the river in Lancashire in early 2023, soon after I made the first report of the fraud. It's definitely part of what I'm exposing in a massive way. Did she die? We have to presume she did. That's what we're being told. She went missing along the river. Her phone was left on the bench, and the dog was there still that she was walking at the time. They then searched the river. The person that was searching with his team said she's definitely not in the river. We've checked. They had all this scanning equipment or whatever you call it. And then when I exposed the connection to key companies later in 2023, he completely changed his story, said that he had found Nicola Bulley and he'd told the police, and they went and said they would check if it was her, said it wasn't her. So that was after I exposed those companies. And he is linked to those companies. All right, the diver is linked to the exact same companies that I exposed. And not only did he change his story, he changed it. I think it was the day afterwards. I think it was the day after I publicised the evidence of the companies that I was exposing around that time. So Nicola Bulley's husband, Paul Ansell, had worked for BAE Systems. BAE Systems links directly to me because the person that introduced me to Exbourne Manor is called Jock Condon. Jock Condon, I believe, is a relation of Sir Paul Condon, who was the Chief Commissioner of London. On his incorporation documents, he links to the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, which links to the Doomsday Cult, and in his record is BAE Systems. You've also got BAE Systems, and you've got G4S, a Group 4 security company. One of them, I can't remember which one, was incorporated with the exact same companies as Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. So Nicola Bulley's husband worked for BAE Systems. When you look at the research surrounding BAE Systems, it's all the way through the research. It's massive. They have criminal organisations. This is the biggest defence contractor in the United Kingdom. Multi-billions. I was going to say trillions, but over time it probably has been. Multi-billions of pounds being funneled through that government organisation or government-linked organisation through government contracts in relation to international conflicts. What was I going to say? Yeah. I was trying to think of that because obviously this all ties back into UNICEF and just what I was saying, and the international conflict deception, which gives the ability to launder the money. But if they are harming the children and have been, which, you know, I'd love to pray. I pray that these children haven't really been hurt, but there's too much evidence to me suggest that they have. So I'm going to have to go with that at the moment. And how the international conflicts link into the motive and agenda in relation to the children and their blood in all of this, and how this is potentially going to be tying into all of the other elements that I'm talking about in the theory. But a part of me is also considering, because one thing I've got to say is, look, if the entire system is completely evil and we're completely being controlled by evil, then I wouldn't be here now. All right, they would have taken me out. I would have been killed. So now, whether that's they can't kill me, because if I've got, let's just say I have got bloodline Christ and Lucifer within me, that means I've got good and bad within me, and it potentially means I can't be killed. They can't kill me. Now, this could be why I was found evidence linking into Peaky Blinders' immortal man. Maybe it is that I'm not immortal, as in I can die, but they can't take me out and I'm immortal against them, whereas a lot of other people might not be, potentially, because if I'm linked in with the 13 bloodlines, does that mean if they're behind the centralized criminal system, they can't actually take me out because I'm connected to them? Could be. It could be. I don't know. Anyway, it's massive. Gary, have you seen Bobby Johnson taking on the CIA? No, I haven't. Thanks, Diamond. I'll screenshot that. I'll have a look if I can. But I am a bit skeptical about any information now, because make no mistake, everybody, all information is being controlled. Even the information that they are exposing themselves with is being controlled by those behind the centralized criminal system. So then you've got to ask, well, why would they be doing that? Why would they be telling the world that they are involved and giving Gary evidence in relation to it? Don't forget, I was fed information originally leading to me to adrenochrome, the blood of the tortured children. You had John Wedger came out and suddenly started praying, and he is linked to the evidence of the crimes against the children and the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, and he also links to Julian Assange, which means to me, because he links to the Doomsday Cult, and all three of my families linking to Julian Assange. So, you know, you've got to, this is a really big part of this. Why aren't I gone? Why haven't they got rid of me? Why are they giving us all of the information to actually expose their entire system? All right, now this is starting to go into how I'm now starting to create the evidence tying in, and my theory has changed literally in the last couple of days, right? So I'm not going to go into it too much, but the star getting bigger has led me to think of another theory that would not undermine what I'm saying and may support it, and may not destroy the faith and destroy the creator through it. Now, I'm working on it. But the big evidence you need to consider in this, and one of the, I need to consider, is the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini, which set out a 3 World War deception to bring about the light of Lucifer. But I have to consider, why may that have been staged for me to have seen it as well, to make me believe that they were trying to bring about Lucifer and destroy Christianity, because they knew who I was, and I was actually going to come back to Christianity. And when I say Christianity, I don't mean as you know it within the scripture. I mean the foundation of moral conscience, which actually brings me back to what I was trying to say earlier. I can't believe I didn't tell you this. I was going to tell you this earlier. So that was the whole point of me doing that earlier. Okay, this tells you I'm human. All right, and I'm forgetting things, and just it's bugging me. So, remember, this is the whole point I was telling you this earlier. 4,400 BC, you got the link into the research of the vampirism tying in with the black sun, which links straight to Exborn Manor and all this other evidence I'm telling you about. Then you had, as you said, coming forward, as I said, 44 BC, Julius Caesar's death. Then you had this pantheon and the Oculus, which links to the all-seeing eye and into the heavens. Well, if they were controlling all of the information, and they were evil, and the blood of the children was there. Let's just presume the blood was going on right back then, the vampirism. Let's just presume it was, that the blood of the children was a big part of this. Why leave in love thy neighbour in the scripture? Why leave in thou shalt not kill? All right, the two biggest elements written within humanity's DNA. Now, if you go against those two principles, we end up destroying ourselves through the moral conscience, because we destroy the moral conscience. So if we are deliberately killing, and I don't mean killing in self-defense, I mean actively going out of our way, and I'm sorry to say, I believe this relates to all life on earth. I don't think this is just about humans. I think this is written within us from the start, not to kill another living being. And I understand that's going to upset those of you who eat meat, all right, but I think this was written into our DNA from the stars, from the feminine divinity, tying in with Christ. So why even leave that in there? Why allow that to be exposed as part of the deception, however, over 2,000 years later? Why not, if they are controlling the system and they are pure evil in relation to the blood of the children, why not just get rid of that as well? That's what I would do. If I was pure evil and I wanted evil to continue forever on earth, or I wanted to have complete and utter corruption, why would I leave the very foundation that would expose their entire criminal network within Scripture? Doesn't make sense. And that is a real pivotal moment in all of this, going back over 2,000 years ago. Why leave that information in there for it to be raised again later by the right person to expose everything and show how it all connects into everything? Now, of course, Christ, as I said, 13 years old, and then his ministry in 30. So he... Hold on. I'm terrible at maths. So let me just think about this one. Obviously, right, 13. So you've got 3 years. Oh, so 33 times in 2033 will be exactly 2,000 years after Christ's supposed death. We've got the 007 link into 7 AD when Christ was 13. So it was 20 years later. Okay. Which would take you... Right, okay. Hold on, let me think. I'm having a moment of fuzziness, just trying to think. And it's a very simple thing, and I'm just not thinking straight. So let me just think about this. So he was 13. So it would have been 27 AD when he started his ministry. So 2027 will obviously be the 2,000-year anniversary as when he started his ministry. No. Hold on. I'm being really stupid here, aren't I? So 7 AD, he was 13. So we need to add to 27. Yeah, so it would have been 27 AD when he started his ministry. He would have been... no, hold on. No, it would have been 2024. Would have been 2024 when he started his ministry then. You know what I'm trying to say. I just can't, for the life of me, it's gone. It's completely gone. The simplest thing, and it's gone. I'm trying to think if there's a relevance to the year back then when he was starting his ministry and how that correlates to what we're in now. I'm going to think about this because I'm not obviously making sense to myself. Let me just read through the comments. So yeah, I think that's a massive question. Why leave that in there for me to come back to it and expose it? Unless they were trying to bring about the creator all along. Unless the plan right from the beginning was to bring about the creator through a bloodline or something like that, and how this all ties in with this. Let me go through the comments. The Corpus Clock, Cambridge. The inventor John Taylor made 2 more clocks, one in the Isle of Man and one in China. Interesting. Thank you, Lanabella. I didn't know about that. Just whilst you're mentioning, in case anyone isn't, and I was funny enough, I was talking to somebody about this earlier today on a video call. The Corpus Clock, if you're not aware of it, I found out about that after my dream led me to the Hadron Collider control panel. It was a dream about Ronald McDonald, and believe it or not, I know there's a lot of subjects I'm mentioning here. It was, I'll just run this by you quickly, so just so you're aware again. I know many of you heard me say this many times. So somebody gave me information in November 2024 about the Ninth Circle, an organisation being linked into the crimes against children, the hunting of children on estates, and how that links in with the royal family and with the Vatican. I then went to sleep that night or the night after, had a dream, bizarrely, that I was in a McDonald's restaurant and there was Ronald McDonald, and I felt incredibly happy. And then a sudden moment of deception just came completely over me to the point it woke me up and startled me. Never dreamt about McDonald's as far as I could remember at any other time. Ronald McDonald is obviously a clown, so I thought, right, I'm not because of the dream. I just thought, right, okay, I'll just research. It was later that day. I'll research the Ninth Circle. The very first article was Art the Clown, and Art the Clown was a character in the Ninth Circle movie, and that movie came out in March 2008. All right, now it was September 2008 that the Large Hadron Collider first activated, and it had a fault 9 days later. Now, I didn't know about that. Let me just come back to my dream first, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Come back to the Large Hadron Collider. So this prompted me to research McDonald's, and I found loads of evidence coming in from McDonald's, tying into the apparent crimes against the children, starting to fit the information that I had about the remains of children being put into the food chain. And if you remember, back in 1973, that's when before I was even born, the movie Soylent Green came out, about a dystopian future of corrupt corporations and a suggestion that remains of humans may be being put in the food chain. Well, that year is when the World Trade Center was finished its completion, and that is also the year that the SWIFT International Transaction System started to be created, started to be used, and that is what they use in the international government fraud. So that was 1973. Now, that movie was about an innocent police officer in 2022. Even though I hadn't even been born yet, 2022 is the year that I started finding out about all of this fraud. So I then researched, where was I going to go with it? I was researching McDonald's, found all of this evidence, couldn't ignore it. It was huge. They were changing companies' names as I was exposing everything in relation to McDonald's. Then I searched, I wonder if there's a connection to CERN and not the Ninth Circle. Hadn't thought about trying to make those two connections. The very first article came out and said that the technicians at the Large Hadron Collider call a problem with the machinery the Ninth Circle or hell. So I was like, wow, my dream has led to that. Now, I didn't know about the fault at the Large Hadron Collider at this point, which I'm going to come to in a minute. So then further down in the research, obviously I'm doing research continuously, and last year I think, I found out that the person positioned at the beginning, it would have been last year, at the beginning of 2025 with a double-barreled surname of Keller was positioned as not the head of the government. There's another organisation in Switzerland, but it's the equivalent of the Prime Minister, I believe. She was positioned on the 1st of January 2025, New Year's Day, in 2025. And then I found from the research of her, a company called Keller Group PLC. Not only does it link straight into my dreams again and everything else, it then links to it being the actual organisation that had created the control panel for the Large Hadron Collider. So this was a huge moment. So not only do we have the technicians, and I've screenshotted and got all of this evidence documented, all right? This isn't just me saying it. This is me having proof of every single little thing that I'm just telling you, other than the dream. Obviously, you're not going to be able to know that I had that dream, but you know, if I'm giving you the truth through the Company's House records that can be checked, then obviously you can probably presume that everything else I'm telling you is true, which it is. But you know, I don't expect you to just trust me. You know, I need to show you the proof of everything if I can. Anyway, Anyway, so come forward then. So 2008, March, Ninth Circle released. September, the first time that Large Hadron Collider was activated. First time ever. It started to be built in 1999, I think, which was the re-establishment of the Church of Satan, right, which all links into this, all right? Because remember the Swan and Green movie, 1973, that was based on a book. The movie was based on a book from the year 1966, which was the foundation originally of the Church of Satan. Well, I think the Church of Satan goes back a bit further, but that foundation with Anton LaVey was 1966, the same year as the German-English World Cup, and it was actually named after a German knight as well, which links into Christianity. This is the Church of Satan we're talking about. The book was based on the year 1999. Well, 1999 was the year of the re-establishment of the Church of Satan after the death of Anton LaVey in 1997, all right, which was less than 2 months after the death of Princess Diana. And what have we identified earlier that I told you? The date of the Judgment Day, within Terminator 2, the movie, my favourite movie, was 2 or 3 days before Princess Diana's death, and that links into the same foundation date of Netflix, which then connects to what I was telling you right at the beginning of this video. So then Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, died within 2 months of Princess Diana's death. They then re-established it in 1997, involving his daughter, I believe, Xena, who was involved in the re-establishment of it. And then they positioned then a new high priest of the Church of Satan in 2001 called Peter Gilmore. I think that is the same person or a twin as John Cousins, who was positioned as the mayor of Glastonbury, tying in with the research, coming in from the cell towers, linking in with Sasha Stone. And I believe that's either the same person or a twin of John Cousins and Peter Gilmore, because the research from John Cousins then linked back into the adrenochrome, the blood of the tortured children, and Sasha Stone had already linked into information tying in with the black nobility families of the Vatican. So anyway, this activation took place in September of the Large Hadron Collider. 9 days later, I think it was. Is it 9 days later? Well, that's interesting. Ninth Circle again. 9 days later, I think, or 10 days, but I think pretty sure it was 9. A fault occurred at the Large Hadron Collider. Now, I only found out about this fairly recently, and when I researched it, they were hiding information in relation to that fault. So I exposed that hiding of the information. I managed to, through my research, find out that they were hiding information about that fault. Well, the exact same day that the fault occurred, Stephen Hawking was involved in unveiling the Corpus clock at Cambridge University. Now, Stephen Hawking has already been involved in CERN, in the Large Hadron Collider, and information suggests he was trying to get the technology to create a black hole on Earth, all right, which then links in with all of the other research I've been telling you about, the end of the Mayan calendar, the deception around Earth, which I'm going to be coming into in my theory in all of this, where I think we are actually going to be the centre of the universe, if I'm being honest with you, and they've deliberately set up a deception to make us feel that we are not. And I'm going to be coming into that a lot later, and this would explain the 1992 information where the Vatican brought out a new book where they were showing information as to what their belief is. But that same year, they also apologised in relation to Galileo and his claims that the Earth was not at the centre of the universe. All right, so they apologised, trying to make it seem that we were not at the centre of the galaxy or the universe. Well, that is the exact same year that the Company's House records started to become electronic in relation to the fraud. So I think that was a deception set up around the same time. 1992 is the same year that they changed the company name, linking into the Knights Templar location of my former school, and there's a key date change that takes place in 1992, which I'm not going to disclose at the moment, but that becomes critical as well. And that was the first company I found linking into the research of my former school into the Knights Templar location from the 13th century and into the Waterman offshore company, which then leads into loads of Olympic Games companies, into the World Cup companies as well. So it all ties in with what's going on at the moment, and David Beckham and all sorts. So this clock was unveiled by Stephen Hawking, and that clock, the Designer for the Corpus clock links straight back into Siemens on Company's House. Siemens is the Nazi-linked deception organisation, which ties back into the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini, and it also links in immediately to Jeffrey Epstein via the Edge Foundation. Siemens actually was originally founded in 1847, 3 years after Company's House began, according to the research, and that is linked into the Nazi regime. But I will look at those other clocks. Thank you very much for that. I need to make sure I screenshot it. Let's do it again just in case. Indigo is going after Nimoy Campbell and Nike. Thanks very much, Diamond. Brilliant. Someone's put Dom Waterson has done lots of research into bloodlines. Thank you for that. Why do you think they're telling everyone to eat garlic? Interesting. Yeah, I can't ignore the vampire connection. Honestly, it's massive. It's linking in with me in a massive way, which means my families are probably going to be tied into this. You know, it all links in a huge way to the 13 bloodlines, it looks like. Whether the vampirism is real, obviously I've never seen anybody personally drinking the blood of anybody or any other than videos of, you know, you got what's her name, Megan Fox claims that she was drinking her partner's blood, and a few other people in Hollywood, but I mean there's too much evidence for me to ignore it, and how it links in with the extension of life. And then when you look at the evidence of Varney the vampire, well, that links into Sittingbourne in Kent, right near where I was born, and the world's largest printing factory at the time in relation to the Penny Dreadfuls, and the fact that a Fleming married an Edward Lloyd in the 1920s, and Edward Lloyd is the same name as the person that created Varney the Vampire and the Sweeney Todd side of things. And there's a Sweeney Todd company that centralizes the solicitors into the royals back into the Vatican. It's massive. So Varney the Vampire, I think, is them telling us how they feel about their lives, potentially, if it's real that they're drinking the blood. If you go and look at the Varney the Vampire, they were loathing their life and actually ended up committing suicide. And they didn't know whether to make the character have wings and fangs like a bat or whether to leave them human. There was a bit of confusion as to whether they were just going to do a human drinking blood, but they made it into a bat. So you can almost guarantee that this is where Batman, the character, came from. All vampire stories and films stemmed from Varney the Vampire, according to the research. And it was an Edward Lloyd that created it. So that creates the link to the Lloyd family and the Flemings, you see, in all of this. And the Flemings were heavily linked in with Hampshire, where the currency producer began with portals, as I said, in 1711. So anyway, we've got this link right back to 4400 BC now in relation to the blood. And I've actually found links in, where was it coming in from? It was coming in from that, I think. Oh, it was from, it was from the Black Sun. Bearing in mind the Black Sun research went 4400 BC into the black nobility. In there, I found a connection to Eurochrist, or Eucharist. Sorry, Eucharist. So that is the blood ritual within Christianity, where they drink the blood of Christ, supposedly, with the wine, and the body of Christ with bread. We're complete and utter mockery of Christ. How do you completely mock and desecrate somebody where you represent eating them and drinking their blood? There's no greater, I believe, mockery and awful way to degrade a thought of something than saying you're eating it and drinking its blood. I mean, it's obvious that that was part of the deception. And then that links in, obviously, I now believe, with the Christian deception, where they state that Christ died forgiving everybody for their future sins. Like I've said several times over the last few days, when you're skipping moral conscience, you're skipping the most important element in this, but they left it within the scripture, but they removed it from the system. So yeah, and then from that point on, that meant that anybody that was a Christian could continue to commit sin, even if it was against children and how it related to the blood of the children, as long as they repented and they went back to Christ. Well, you're skipping the most important element of Christ, which is the moral conscience, which is the most important element from Christ. Most important gift, definitely, other than life itself, is moral conscience. And if you give up on that and you sell that or give up on that, then you are giving up on the most precious thing on earth. If you sell your moral conscience, and in other words, if you're willing to allow the suffering of children and the blood of the children, and allow a risk to all of creation by not putting yourself on the line to stop it, then you have sold your soul. You've sold your soul. You know, there's no greater thing to fight for than children and for the end of all of creation. And if people aren't going to be willing to do that, then you actually become part of the desecration of Christ. Now, talking about the stars, through the research of this star it seems to be getting bigger, there is a mention of the blue Kachina star, and I can't ignore what that says. I think it's Kachina, how you pronounce it. I could have it wrong. Anyway, this is a mention of a star coming to Earth, and it talks about destruction upon everything, complete and utter destruction. But if you go and research, I might be saying this wrong because I'm just saying off of memory, but it talks about the destruction being averted with an element of righteousness still on Earth. So in other words, as long as there is hope on Earth and there is somebody or a group of people that are absolutely doing the right thing in relation to the Creator, then the destruction may not take place. And this goes back to the 13 number, linking back to our ring, the letter M, 13th letter of the alphabet. Remember, 13 bloodlines, 13 stars on the American flag, 13 steps on the pyramid on the $1 bill, loads of 13 numbers, 13 vertebrae on your back, 13 in the word Amen if you translate it in gematria, 13 on the 13th of Friday the 13th in 1307. Remember, linking back into the 13th century Knights Templar location around that sort of period. You had the Grand Master of the Knights Templar apparently captured and then murdered after 7 days of torture, trying to hide the secret of the bloodline of Christ that the Knights Templar appeared to be hiding. But the 13 strong concordance number with scripture talks about utter destruction of everything with no way of going back. But if it risks an unjust judgment upon earth, then the hidden hand of the Creator may remain hidden. In other words, the destruction may not occur. Now, obviously, if there was going to be a judgment upon humanity, which should not be a judgment upon all of creation in any way, in my view, why kill all of creation for the sins of man? It just does not make sense. So therefore, the entire end of the world wouldn't have made sense anyway, even if you was trying to bring about a judgment on humanity for the sinful acts that they have been involved in. And we have all, in some way, been party to the situation we're in here, whether that be you speak to somebody in a way that you wouldn't normally, and then that makes them feel bad, you then end up feeling guilty, and it just lowers the Creator-given fulfillment and positivity that you should all be feeling. But that is because of, I believe, the separation of the moral conscience through the system they've implemented. So whether that be you're tired because you haven't slept because you're working too hard, or because you've had too much to drink, they're behind the alcohol, or you've had drugs, they're behind the drugs, they're behind the resolution for the alcohol and drugs as well, they're behind the rehabilitation of the drugs and the alcohol, but they're also behind both, behind the problem reaction solution criminal network. So you've all been misled, all been deceived, and therefore it would be an unjust judgment to literally wipe out, and not only wipe out, but cause suffering through that destruction on humanity. Because if there was going to be a tribulation event, you know, not everyone's going to die straight away. You're going to be talking about people drowning in tsunamis. You know, you're going to be talking about people being maimed for life, not always dying. So would the Creator do that? No. Why do we know that? How do we know the Creator wouldn't do that? Because we have moral conscience. Because otherwise the Creator wouldn't have put moral conscience within our DNA in the first place, which is love thy neighbor, treat everybody how you want to be treated, and thou shalt not kill. So it does not make sense. None of it makes sense until you look at the moral conscience and the system around moral conscience and the deception. And those behind our criminal networks are massively irrational, are massively reduced of their clarity through the Creator because most of them are going to be on drugs, whether it's cocaine or whatever, or they're drinking too much, and they've separated themselves from the creator anyway, through the very fact that they have removed themselves from moral conscience. Because you can't be close to the creator and not have moral conscience as your foundation. Well, that's what they did right back from the deception, or what I suspect is the deception within Christianity. They started separating from the creator at that point with the deception of setting up the forgiveness for all future sins of mankind. Satanic. Does not work. Like how Jesus Christ was born on April the 1st, so they could mock him. I've heard different things about right. Is that the date he was born then, is it? I've heard different things about the dates. About that, he was born on April the... Oh, sorry. Some people have said other dates may have been the case. I've had different years. Someone has said that 2001, on that date, was the year that he was born. September the 11th. I mean, we're not going to know for sure, are we? But it definitely, the 1st of April is obviously, with the April Fool's side of things, it's definitely a mockery if he was born on that date. Dear me. Right, years behind, I mean. Just coming through the comments. No way, I didn't know that 21 is my lucky number, and I have a Rome bloodline. Interesting, Diamond. Yeah, the number 21, 21st of April, very, very important. Yeah, very important, because it was like I said, it was the foundation of Rome itself, going back to 643, I think it is BC, or 634, I can't remember. Well, that goes, a long way back. But yeah, Queen Elizabeth II's birthday as well, so very, very relevant. There was it's also, which, believe it or not, becomes relevant. International Tea Day, okay, or UK Tea Day. Well, why is that relevant? You were asking, and I was thinking this. I came across bits of information about tea, and I was thinking, that's interesting, but how's that going to fit in with this? Does anyone know Tim Cohen? Tim Cohen, I think it's Tim Cohen, came out and he said that Charles is the Antichrist. And he created a book called The Antichrist and a Cup of Tea. Okay? Well, it looks as though Tim Cohen is compromised by the International Criminal Network. Early research, I wasn't going to do it actually, but I might actually just do that because of everything's... I think it's all been staged for me to uncover it because of who I am. But he came out with a book, Antichrist and a Cup of Tea, claiming that Charles was the Antichrist. He then refused to respond to any of my other evidence or information that I was sending to him. I think I had one message from him. Well, I came across a tea company the other day, and it was coming in from... I'm going to have to try and remember where I was coming in from now. What was I researching initially? I know it linked to Lady Serbia, and Lady Serbia became the ambassador for China's... I think it was China's biggest tea company. But what was I coming in from the research to find it? It was something quite big. I've forgotten. Anyway, this tea company comes up, and she links to the royal family. Okay, so now I'm thinking, wow, okay, tea. And now I've found links from the tea company to the international drug trafficking trade. Now, it's not a great link, but it's there. So now I'm considering that the tea was being used to do something to people through that tea, whether it is some sort of drug being put in the tea or whatever, I don't know, but it links into the international drug trafficking network via a organization called Jardines. Well, Jardines is the link to Lloyds Bank, and Lloyds Bank is on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, that connects to me via Ingenious Film Partners and links straight to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, my favourite movie, which then comes back to what we were talking about earlier, back in with Princess Diana, in with Netflix, etc. Anyway, this Jardine, you've got Fleming Jardine, or Jardine Fleming, I can't remember which one, which links in with the Fleming family. Well, they're linked into the international drug trafficking network via a company called Russell and Co. And Russell then links back in with, what did I say earlier, the Jason Russell in the Russell battle in Northern America, okay, in 1725, the year after Portal started producing the money. The year afterwards. Year after Portal started producing the currency for the Bank of England. Now, there was something else in relation to tea I was going to say. Or was that it? That's all I can remember at the moment. Alcohol is a demon, thus the word alcohol. Ah, right, okay, thank you. Alcohol. Yeah, why do you think they call them spirits, everybody? Alcohol, okay? One of the oldest spirits, I think, is Bacardi. My mum's favourite drink, or my supposed mum. And what is the symbol of Bacardi? A bat. And what does that reference? Vampirism. Again, all right? That ties back in with it. And it's one of the oldest spirit companies in the world, all right? And there's loads of other... I actually found out about that doing the research from Vladimir Putin, believe it or not. That led me to the Bacardi connection, linking straight back into everything, and the bat symbol and how relevant that all becomes. But yeah, why do you think they call it spirits, everybody? Right? Because it clouds your vision. And don't get me wrong, I have a half a pint every now and then. You know, I used to drink more than I do now, but I'm now understanding why it's part of everything. Because it leads to demonic spirits, right, through the human mind. And what I mean by that is it leads you into sin and evil. And actually, some people, obviously, through substance abuse, they actually see demons, right? And they see things, because that's what happens when your mind is not thinking naturally through the creator-given moral conscience and foundation of clarity and rationality. Then our mind can play tricks on us through the substance abuse. And they called it spirits, everybody. Spirits, linking in to the spirit world or the demonic side of things through it. And I think that was deliberately named that way, that reason. It was deliberately named that way. Someone's put, and was meant to live in Wales. That's interesting. Who was that? Hence why on certain days in the right conditions, you can see the sun halos and sun dogs. What's the sun dogs, Carla? That's interesting. The sun dogs. Sun dogs? I don't know what they are, Carla. Carla, absolutely has been measured, someone's put. There is so much, so many links to Rome as I dig through. I'm struggling to understand how the F did the USA get their teeth so dug into Britain. Yeah, Diamond, Rome's massive in this. Part of Washington, D.C., I think, had the name, or part of it had the name Rome as well. It's a huge part of what we're seeing. You've got the links into Saturnalia. Now, Saturnalia is starting to become very, very relevant in my theory again. If you're not aware of Saturnalia, it links in with the Saturn cult. And supposedly on Saturn, there is a shape on that location, on that planet, that cannot be seen from Earth, or certainly when it was supposedly discovered, it would not have been seen by Earth, by people on Earth. So that's, I'm building into my theory as well. Well, from that, you have the Saturn cult, as I've said, which links into Saturnalia, which links into Rome. And I've found connections directly from a company called Saturnalia Limited, I think it is, to Muhammad Al-Fayed. And Muhammad Al-Fayed links to Exborn Manor immediately from the research. Okay, so via his Harrods company, obviously there's link back in with Princess Diana as well, because she was going out with Dodi Al-Fayed. Dodi Al-Fayed links straight to the Church of Satan. All right, so coming from Peter Gilmore, you make a link to Dodi Al-Fayed via the Company's House records. It also links straight into the Nicola Bulley case, and it also links into the Chillenden murders via the father of the Russells. Again, what's the surname of the children and the wife? Russell. Okay, yep, so probably going to be part of the Russell family that I was mentioning earlier. So that was in, I can't remember what year it was, but the father links to the Church of Satan for the child that died in the Chillenden murders, and his wife, I believe it was, that died. One of the children survived. Anyway, Church of Satan links into, so via Harrods, you have a link to one of the Harrods company, has Mavis June Latter on its incorporation document, exact same name that links to Swift Incorporations Limited, which is on the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Swift for Exborn Manor Freehold Limited. And Swift Incorporations Limited is also linked into the diver that I told you about, Peter Faulding, for the Nicola Bulley case that was trying to find the bodies. It was Swift Incorporations that I exposed. It then dissolved in 2023, and on, I believe, the same day or the day after, I can't remember, Pete, what's his name again now? The diver, the person that was trying to find Nicola Bulley's body, he came out and changed his story literally straight after I exposed it. So that must have got back to him, and he probably thought, well, I need to get out of it. Or they deliberately did it so that I would make that connection and find everything I'm finding. So yeah, Rome is massive in all of this. And I actually think Rome is going to be fitting now because of Saturnalia, and that ties into as well into the Sol Invictus. Sol stands for sun, and the Sol Invictus connection is made to Saturnalia, and that talks about the 25th of December, which we're all celebrating it for the birth of somebody, when it looks as though the evidence is that they used that day for a sacrifice, or did do in the past at least. So that's another mockery to all of humanity, to get you to celebrating a day through Christmas when actually you're celebrating, it looks like, the sacrifice of children, according to the research. And of course, what else does Christmas do? Well, it instills materialism within humanity, because most people, let's face it, they don't celebrate Christmas for the reason that we're meant to believe we're celebrating it for. We predominantly focus on the presents and therefore the materialism, and a lot of people celebrate obviously with their family, but most of them don't actually think about what it is behind Christmas, to the point where now obviously it looks like it's a complete deception and mockery around Saturnalia anyway, and how that links in with, like I've said, the sacrifice of children. And if you go back to Switzerland, in Bern, in its capital, you have a statue of a person eating babies and eating children. It's actually called something like the eater of little children, or little babies, or something like that. It's actually called it, but it was only called that from, guess what year? 1966, the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan. I'm pretty sure that's the year that it started using that name. But that statue is quite old. It goes back to the 1500s, I think it is. Thursday the 9th, Gary Waterman will be with WDR. Yep, brilliant. Yeah, thanks very much. I'm glad you put. I haven't read all your messages. I saw it pop up, but I haven't actually read it. So thanks very much, 108, Anthony. So I'm doing a video with Anthony, I presume, on the 9th at 8 p.m. on WD. I think it's. I'll check your messages, but I think you said it's the 8 p.m. unless it's changed. WDR Truth on Rumble. So if everyone can join that, I'm hoping it'll be a good opportunity to speak about the evidence and what has been being established in all of this. Yeah, so that comment is true. I've been speaking to Anthony, and my view is, look, I don't know Anthony. I don't know. I haven't looked at the channel, Anthony, yet. I do apologise for not looking at it. But my view is, I just need to get this evidence out. So I'm not saying this is the case for Anthony at all. I'm obviously mindful about how that can be used in relation to my evidence and how it could be used against me potentially. I'm not suggesting Anthony's going to do that at all. But my view is, I need to get this evidence out. I need to be speaking about it. They're suppressing my platform. They're suppressing my numbers. So I just need to get it out there to as many people as I can. All right, and get this evidence out. So, yeah, so thank you very much for that. Why did I email the MPs? Okay, good question. Now, I love having questions. I don't actually get many questions, so please, if you've got a question, don't be afraid to ask it. Even if it's about me as a person, it doesn't have to be related to everything I'm talking about. But if you've got questions about the evidence and what I'm saying, put a question. I don't mind answering. So the question is, why do you email the MPs? Okay, well, going back when I was during my early investigation, and I was starting to realise how big it was getting, obviously I needed to try and get the MPs to intervene and to get their opinion on what was going on and send them the evidence. They were also then retained, so it became, as I was finding out how big it is, obviously this allows the exposure of those individuals that are corrupted by the system within our government. So if, for example, I've sent the evidence to 650 members of parliament and none of them are doing anything, then they're all, technically, they can all be arrested, can't they, for conspiring to allow international fraud and crimes against children and conflicts to continue. Because they have a role to address these things, and if they're not addressing it and they're aware of it, then they become part of the problem. And presumably, they're going to be conspiring to allow it to continue. Otherwise, they will be stopping it. So they become guilty of an indictable offence which means humanity can rise up and arrest the entire lot under the citizens arrests, right, under Section 24 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. So it's about evidence building, seeing if they're going to respond, exposing those that don't, and of course they are the front line in the information control in terms of how it links in with government. So we have a face, we have accountability and liability through that face. All right, so that means we can get photographs and we can put it to the evidence, and that creates the pressure in the system. And this is probably why my evidence is going to have and has been having the impact it has, because there'll be people within the system saying, look, what are we going to do? Gary's putting photos in this. What can we do? You know, we've been involved in this. A lot of them will not want part of it. They'll want out of it. I'm sure many people have left without us even realizing and separating from the system. Back in 2024, you had the general elections when Labour came in. Well, 2024, prior to that elections, loads and loads of MPs did not sit to get re-elected. And remember, I was exposing the fraud from 2023 onwards is when I was publicising it. So hopefully through the emails it would have got through to a lot, and of course word of mouth, and then they're going to be because what we want is division within the system, and a breakdown of the system, but in a way that there is not chaos, so that we reach a transitional system into transparency and truth. And I'm pretty sure I know exactly what to do straight away on how to resolve this, certainly the key elements in all of this, and where we need to be heading and aiming for. Oh, right, sorry, Kim. Oh, so Charlton and Wheelies were a long time before I was born, were they? Okay, that'll be why I haven't heard of them then. Yeah, there is no democracy. You're absolutely right, Rebecca. You know, there's absolutely no point voting at the moment in the time with all of this going on. There is no democracy, all right, because they've set it up deliberately as part of the deception in the control system. But it doesn't mean you can't email the evidence, because that applies the pressure to the system. Then I can expose them through the document and through the evidence. So, for example, Christopher Chope, he's now going to be panicking massively, I would think, because I've got evidence of linking him in specifically in relation to how the culling of the dolphins and the whales ties into this evidence. So now I'm just going to expose Christopher Chope, right? And he links to a marriage to somebody from Wimborne Minster, which links directly into the Doomsday Cult, all right, via him. So, you know, this is what I have to do. But I gave him a chance. I sent them emails. He responded about the property in Burton in Christchurch, the joint property. But then as soon as I've said, look, he was then trying to pass the buck to the MP for Eastcliff area, because that's where Exbourne Manor is, which links to Jimmy Savile. But Tom Hayes, who is that MP, has not even been responding at all. So Tom Hayes needs to be arrested. Christopher Chope needs to be arrested. They all need to be arrested. But what I'm doing is building up, you see, because I think there's going to come a point where I am going to be involved in a new earth, and I will be helping to hold these people to account for what they've been doing to humanity, or making the decision on, I hope, on how these people are held to account. Why would you doubt crimes about children after all the evidence has been out for years? Well, first of all, you've got Maria Farmer, the first accuser of Jeffrey Epstein, linked straight into the International Criminal Network. You've got Virginia Guthrie, who was another accuser of Jeffrey Epstein, linked into the criminal network. First of all, you've got to ask, why would they expose the Jeffrey Epstein files if they're behind the criminal network that actually targets the children? Right, these are all things that we need to be questioning. Why is it that John Wedger, who was trying to expose the crimes against the children, is actually linked to one of the most important elements of crime against the children in the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry? Right, so there's theories that I'm working on that potentially some of it may not be real, and they've needed to create some of it to get me, who I possibly am, to make the link going back in time into history and where this has all gone wrong. But in the process, obviously, they've exposed themselves in doing so. But all of the evidence is so significant in relation to the blood of the children. It still looks as though, historically at least, that has gone is a historical part of all of this and why we're in this mess. But I've also got in the back of my mind, okay, well, what if, because of the evidence that I've just told you about going back 4,400 BC, why would you allow that information to remain within Scripture that would then expose everything? Doesn't make sense. If they are starting to control the system through Rome, why not just remove the information? Just reading your comments, Carlos, but Rebecca, because if they create false stories incessantly, people will question whether their crimes against children are real, leaving people confused. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you put that better. Another massive element of this. Yeah, absolutely. If you put lies amongst the truth, then that confuses everybody as well, and it makes it more difficult to identify the real theory in this and what they've really been doing and what they haven't been doing. So that is another element of this. Absolutely, Carla. Yeah, very, very, very true there. It creates that element of confusion and therefore makes it more difficult to uncover the real truth in this. Rebecca's put, I forgot people need guidance on what to believe or not what to believe. Well, you know, that I know you're saying that sort of as a bit of a potentially a bit of a kick to the last person, but look, how many people didn't believe in a creator before this evidence started to come out? Now, I know for a fact that people, since this evidence has come out, now are starting to believe in a creator, right, because of this evidence. So, you know, some people do need some sort of guidance on what the belief, what's the best way of me putting this? We need a point in the right direction as to what the truth is behind what we should be believing. That's probably the best way to put it. You know, not everyone wakes up and believes in the right thing potentially. And it's very important that we do try and, if we don't, it's not that we all have free will, so we all have to make a choice, and of course we all have the ability to believe what we want, but of course we could all be misguided in the wrong belief system. All right, even these people behind this criminal system may be thinking now, well, there's these scriptures that says there's going to be a tribulation event on earth. It's not going to happen in time if we don't bring it about. So we are working on behalf of the Creator to actually bring about the scripture. Well, what if the scripture was written is a lie, and it was written by Satanists, all right, as a deception, right, about all of this? Now, they might not know that, right? So the evidence that I'm presenting is pretty significant and says, well, hold on, look at the time scale of what's gone on. Look at the Gutenberg's Bible being mass produced. Linking in with it looks like the evidence of the Church of Satan. So straight away, you've got to be questioning that scripture. But I'm not eliminating and separating us from the Creator and Christ. I'm actually drawing us back in through this evidence to Christ and the Creator, but understanding the deception that's taken place around it as well. So I don't fit any agenda. Right? Remember the Albert Pike letter? It says destroy Christianity. Well, I haven't fallen into that trap. I very nearly did, and I very nearly but inadvertently, through the exposure of the crimes against the children linked into the Church of England and into the Vatican, destroyed Christianity. Well, now I'm starting to realise how the deception was in place for that to happen. So now I'm actually coming back at that, inverting it again, and actually getting everyone to focus on not Christianity per se, but on Christ and on mainly on moral conscience and where it's gone wrong with moral conscience. Because moral conscience, I believe, is the Creator within us. Nicola didn't drown. Someone or people did it. Same as the black women showing up in waters around the UK. Serial killers or someone with a vengeance against women. Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, I've done some research around the same MO of women, so modus operandi of women dying along rivers, and it becomes extremely relevant. It links back into the falsified prophecies. There was some key evidence that I found recently tying back into a cross-reference within my document that went back to it. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a really key point. I haven't got it in front of me. It was literally in the last few days. What was it? Hold on, let me just think for a second. I know it linked into Charlie Veach, who's the YouTuber, his girlfriend, and into an organisation called Christian Warfare, which then made the links back into the mystery company of the goldsmiths and major areas of the criminal networks. Because you've got these key families, goldsmiths, Rothschilds, etc., the black nobility families. Many of these families or individuals within these families may not exist like we're being led to believe. They could be creating some false identities that aren't in public to create confusion again. But there was a key connection. I can't remember. It's gone. Can't remember what it was. If it's on the news, it's meant likely as a psyop. Yeah, absolutely. The news is helpful because it through it you can actually expose them even further. Through the evidence that they're publicising. You've got to be very mindful of it being a deliberate distraction from the truth or deviation, and this is why, it's so important that I'm cross-referencing everything and looking at the overall evidence, because that is how they're tripping themselves up. Because when they're coming out with news stories, I'm like, okay, well that makes sense now, and that actually points towards this theory, whether they're inadvertently doing it or on purpose. It makes sense because of this, and this, and it joins in with that. And that fits in, and how that fits in with me. And let's face it, look, one of the big questions is, which I've had a discussion today, why is every area of research pointing towards me and another person? Now, it's not going to be for a sinister motive, all right, because I'm calling for truth, transparency, trust. I don't want any money. I'm happy to stay in a tent. I'm not going to be getting anything materialistic-wise. So that's a big question. Why is all of the evidence pointing towards who we are in this? Now, of course, if that information is deliberate and it's a lie and we aren't who it seems we are, then, of course, that I can't really explain, because then you're saying you're setting up a lie to bring about a good conclusion. Because I'm trying to say a system needs to be put in place for transparency, equality, fairness, integrity, etc. No victimization. No disparity between the rich and poor, between black and white, any other colour skin, complete and utter equality, fairness for the entire world, the protection of humanity, the protection of children, and the protection of nature. So every single thing I'm aiming at, and I have a process of how to do it, is all good, as far as I can see. The only way it wouldn't be is if the creator was actually evil behind all of this, and then I'm going against the creator. But then we know that can't be the case because of moral conscience. So you come back to that moral conscience of, well, it can't be that the creator's evil. It can't be the creator's bad. And therefore it can't be that I'm bad or what I'm doing is bad, because it actually fits in with the moral conscience, which fits in with the truth of the creator and how the deception of Christianity goes into all of this. Now, I think there was if I've got the blood of Christ and Lucifer within me, and I don't think I'm the only one, then I think it was a split decision. Was I going to fit the narrative of the Antichrist, or was I going to fit the narrative of Christ and righteousness and a return to truth, and truth setting everybody free in all of this? Well, obviously, because of the moral conscience element, as long as I stick to that and I'm not willing to deviate, then of course I am completely in the light in this and away from the dark. And I think a lot of things have been done deliberately to test me over the last 4 years. Will I fear death to the point where it will stop me? Will I take money? Will I be worried about losing my family? Will I expose my family? Will I expose everybody and everyone necessary to apply pressure to the system as a test? Well, yes, I will, because there's children. Do you see what I mean? And I think this is what is going to swing the change in everything. And particularly if a second person becomes more involved in this, which I'm hoping. Elon and co have loads of fake stuff in the sky. Thanks, Faith Defender. 108 Anthony. Gary, I'm having big trouble with my eyes. Can't see properly. Something's not right. It looks like floaters, but dark shadows. Oh, sorry, maybe come off the live for a bit. I've had that a bit as well. Probably not to that extent. Have a break from doing from looking at the screen then, Anthony. Hawkins, interesting surname you've got there, Rebecca. Rebecca Hawkins. You're the one that seems to be, dare I say it, potentially compromised by some of your comments. And you're saying you love meat. Yes, I suspect you are potentially compromised. Hawkins is the same surname as what's his name? Forgot his name. And Julian Assange's real name is Hawkins. If you swap the last letter, then it's Stephen Hawking, which are both linked into the Doomsday Cult. So I suspect you. I'm not going to remove you, Rebecca, but I suspect you are part of this. The world is yin and yang. One cannot live without the other. There will always be good and bad, light and dark, right and wrong, left and right. Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, Diamond, and a lot of people have said this. I actually think we're on the verge of just creating good on Earth with no evil. I actually think that's possible. Because if we don't aim for that and strive for that and believe that, then there will be evil on Earth. And if there's evil on Earth, then there is a chance, and when I mean Earth, I mean within humanity, then there is a chance that evil will then take over again and all of creation may be at risk. I absolutely believe it's possible to have, what I mean by no evil is I believe that will happen when moral conscience becomes the foundation through the system that is put in place, because you won't have the removal of rationality and clarity to the extent that and I actually envision that eventually if I have my way in how I see this going, that you will have complete clarity, complete rationality, and a complete closeness to the Creator through that. So I believe it's absolutely possible. Once that day comes, there will be no evil on Earth in humanity. I absolutely believe that's possible. Not immediately. Hi, Gary and everyone else. Whom is the suffering true people? Eminar, to all those that have had to suffer many decades of the fire Trewicked. There are fallow he and many other GDS deities. I'm just going to read that again. Sorry, I don't understand. Hi, Gary and everyone else. Whom is the suffering true people? Emunar, to all those that had to suffer many decades of the Trewick. But you've spelled, that's interesting. I'm going to screenshot it. I presume there's relevance to how you've worded that. And many other GDS gods, presumably. Okay. Yeah, I think anybody, people need to understand. I'm not going to go into a big debate about it, but people need to understand how the meat trade is actually part of the corruption of moral conscience in all of this. It is a big part of this. I can tell you now, I don't want to get into it. I'm not going to go into it because there's a lot of people that it's going to upset, but you do not need to eat meat. That's a lie. I know that for a fact because I've been without meat for 8 or 9 years. So that is not a reason to continue eating meat. Now, you can say that you love the taste of meat. Is that right that you then choose to eat an animal? No, it's not right. Is it right to cause suffering because you enjoy the taste of meat? No, of course it's not right. So then you really need to evaluate your morals, because what you'll be doing is going against the Creator, whether you realise it or not, because you're going against your moral conscience, which is built within you. They say Ronald McDonald is an activation code, Alexandra's put. Thanks, Alexandra. What, as in an activation to an awakening to the consciousness, do you mean? Kim, just the thought of eating pork makes me sick. Rabies were expected to marry when they went out. Both Jesus and Mary came from, let me read that again, Susan. Rabbis were expected to marry when they went out. Both Jesus and Mary Magdalene came from very wealthy families. Jesus' father had a carpenter business. Mary's family were of royal descent. Thank you very much. I need to look into a little bit more. I have done a bit of research on Mary Magdalene's background, but maybe need to go into it a little bit more. Yeah, I think Rebecca's compromised. Yeah, I think you're definitely compromised. McDonald's is part of the Red Shoe Society. Yes, it is, Diamond, where kids go missing. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, there's information linking into the Red Shoe Society from that. And Red Shoe Club as well. We are not omnivores, Rebecca. We can't digest cellulose. Yeah, I think Rebecca's compromised everybody by her comments and by her name. Could be wrong. I apologise, Rebecca, if you're not, but I think you're just hitting all those alarm bells for me. I'm fairly good at discerning. Ronald McDonald's was shown with green shoes now. Oh, interesting. Ronald McDonald's was shown with green shoes now. This is to say the meat was now clean. Interesting. That's only recently, is it? Wonder what I'll look into that. Thank you very much, Susan. That's a good sign then, isn't it, if that's the case? Susan, that sounds like some QAnon Trump supporting PSYOP misinformation. Yeah, I'll look into it. I don't trust anything at the moment until we get the full disclosure of the truth. And even then, you know, all of these people need to go. There's no way they're going to be able to stay in their position. Like R.F. Kennedy, does anyone even trust that Muppet? No, absolutely not, Carla. Oh, so it was Kennedy that said that, was it? You can't trust him. He linked straight to Jimmy Savile's property. Straight to Exbourne Manor via the Company's House records. Have a good night, Gary. Thanks, Vivian. Take care. Early start tomorrow you've got. Okay, take care. Sleep well. Bye, Vivian. I had an operation on the 9th of the 9th, 1999. Really? Wow. That's interesting. Wow. NASA say minus T. Yes, I keep forgetting to put that in my evidence. Yes, thank you. NASA say minus T right in plain sight. Yeah, I need to put that in my document. Thank you. Keep forgetting that. I think you said that before. So what Carla's saying is NASA is one letter short of an acronym, not an acronym, an anagram of Satan. And of course, they say T minus seconds, etc. Well, that's the T taken out of NASA. So if you add the T back in, you get Satan. Yeah, absolutely, Carla. McDonald's houses near paediatric hospitals critically ill children. Yeah, one of the links in from it was something like the Sick Child's Friends is the name of an incorporation document. It was literally something like Sick Child's Friends linking in with McDonald's, or Child's Sick Friend, something like that. I can't remember. Gary, did you know there was a girl's body found within the royal grounds with suspicious circumstances? A while ago, wasn't it? Or was that I'll screenshot that. I'll have a little look. I know, obviously, you had the child. Again, you know, is this positioned? But you know, we need to. At the moment, we have to consider it's all real until we know otherwise. But the child climbing out of the window of Buckingham Palace. I remember seeing that video. Someone's put fallen angels and shapeshifters. Alex King was Solomon shooting stars. Solomon shooting stars demons. Makes you wonder what ink is made of, as printing and publishing seems to be in all of this. Yeah, I saw a video that ink is one of the most expensive liquids on earth as well in terms of the quantities. And they obviously made printers cheap, but cartridges expensive. So that's interesting you said that, because that popped up on my TikTok. Now there is also something I've seen where, again, pinch of salt. However, I did come across this. This was in the research recently. Jewelry and diamond companies that were fraudulent. So I've heard, whether it's true, or not, but in theory, I suppose it could be. You could make a human body into a diamond and into a stone. I've heard that the Vatican, again, I don't know this is true, so this is just what I've seen on a video. Let me just make that clear. Of the Vatican having specific connections to equipment that can turn children's body into a diamond, and then they wear the diamonds on their rings as well. So read into that what you will. Makes you wonder what. Yeah, I read that. Who did the program Sonic the Hedgehog? Who did the program Sonic the Hedgehog? Hedgehog had red shoes. Interesting. Yeah. Do you know what's interesting? You now mention that, because that was one of my first introductions to games consoles. I had the Sega Mega Drive that came with Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, and I remember. And it had the rings. Yes, you had him chasing all of the rings. Well, the rings becomes relevant in everything. The Lord of the Rings, the Olympic rings now tie, both of those tie into me in the research. Demons don't fear me. Don't fear me. Seen one a few meters away. Thanks to Big Smoke. It backed off because it knew I wasn't afraid. Someone's put. Chris Whitty is one. Someone's put. Wormwood is the star heading to Earth, it said. Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, wormwood is mentioned in, or linked into scripture, isn't it? And this comes back to the analogy and information I acquired of an apple. And you imagine a worm or bug on an apple, and they're burrowing through the apple, creating wormholes. That's how wormholes came to be a name. Well, the apple is very significant in relation to Earth and the gravitational field and everything else. Well, wormwood is also the name of a plant with the extract that was used for centuries, according to the information, to actually get rid of worms and bugs. So if you put that together, they've said there's no connection. But in theory, the return of a celestial body linking with scripture being wormwood could, in theory, symbolize the ridding of the worms trying to create the wormholes. And the wormholes could be those trying to create, or could be the portals or attempts at time travel that could risk ending all of creation in doing so. Because that is what my evidence suggests, that potentially through exposing all of this, there's a risk that they will be desperate to turn back time so they never got involved in the blood of the children, and therefore save their souls from doing so. And that triggers a tribulation event on Earth, where they try desperately to create the wormholes. But the wormwood, in theory, would be the removal of the worms, creating the wormholes. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Probably didn't explain that very well at all. Yes, Lisa, you're right. The 13 months of the year that we should have had, and they changed it to 12, and that ties in again as a critical bit of evidence that linked in with that. I can't remember what that was now, but that became relevant fairly recently. 33 is Christos's oil. Kindalani, rising up 33 vertebrae. Christ consciousness. Very interesting you say that. I've heard that before, Lisa, but the fact you've said it today, because when I researched the company where this information on the website was coming through on, so scribed, it had a Christos link. So I actually researched Christos today. So it's very interesting that you say that. And that relates straight into Christ, you're right. And I've heard in relation to the oil in the body and how it relates to the consciousness. The minority of scholars and researchers who view Revelation 12:1 as a literal chronological birth record base their arguments on biblical astronomy referred to as Star of Bethlehem. Theory, date of birth 9/11. Interesting. Thanks, Rob. I'm going to screenshot that. I'm just going to read that again. So the minority of scholars and researchers who view Revelation 12:1 as a literal chronological birth record base their argument on biblical astronomy, referred to as Star of Bethlehem. Theory, date of birth 9/11. Thank you very much, Robert. That is going to be very useful, I think. Thank you. But I am very mindful that all of the information is being controlled. However, some little bits may help me to build the theory, to support the theory that I'm now thinking, how it ties in with aliens and everything else. So someone's put they are already here. Interesting. Okay, thank you. Now, the other day, you will know that I was saying the whole alien thing is a deception, because they're going to use that to either undermine me by saying I'm an alien or something like that, or to cover up for the crimes against the children. There is now other information being considered in this theory that I'm thinking about, and how the aliens may tie into this. Someone's mentioned the Greys. Quite a few in comments have seen them too, and Greys. Someone said, show them you're in charge. There's an ex-policewoman in YouTube as well. She's seen one and said they hate the flashlights. Interesting. Now you mentioned Greys. There is a Greys family, which is very, very prominent in this. And you also have Grey company connections throughout my research. And you have the Greys Inn, right, which becomes relevant in the legal system as well. So the Greys surname is definitely important in my research, because I remember thinking, wow, okay, the Greys family, and that prompted me to research the Greys alien. Well, that came in at a critical bit of evidence. I can't remember where it was. I'll have to check back on my documents. But the Greys family came up, and I was like, okay, this is going to be relevant. So, hi, Absolute Zero. Hope you're doing well. Just got to your comment. Thanks very much for joining. I have no idea what the time is. Probably going to go fairly soon. I'm getting my eyes. I hope you're okay, Stephen. You said your eyes were playing up. That's interesting. Thanks, Julie. Oh, bye, Diamond. Thanks very much, mate. So I've just seen your comment. Take care. I have to go now, bro. Seriously need to catch up. Yeah, that would be good. Oh, your 40th birthday in September. Oh, amazing. Okay. I'm hosting it in Brighton. See if I can message you details or get a hold of me at platform. Thanks, Diamond. Take care, mate. All the best. Cognitive dissonance, someone has put. Whirling world flat but rising, I'd say. Cognitive dissonance. Whirling world flat but rising. Oh, my battery's dying. Sorry. Then eventually it shot back up into the sky. Yeah, people will be frightened to death. Someone's put, we call spirit because it's called spirit because you use it to replace your missing connection with your higher self. Thanks, Will Rabbit. Thanks very much. That would make sense. So he's talking about alcohol. So let me just read it. It's called spirit. They call them spirits because you use them to replace the missing connection with your higher self. So in other words, yeah, I mean, it's tying into what I'm saying, but we've obviously said the spirit word is a different meaning specifically. But yeah, that would make absolute sense, wouldn't it? So it suppresses us from our moral conscience, and therefore we don't make the connection with our higher self, but also potentially how that links in with the creator. Someone's put a triple sun. Alcohol opens doors to spirits. They are real, DBK has said. Queen's favourite drink was Dubonnet, which looks like adrenochrome. Interesting, thank you. So, oh, here we go. Sundogs and sun halos and coronas are the reflections from the local sun off of the firmament, Gary. Thank you very much, Carla. I wasn't aware of what they were. Thank you. Hi, Adian. I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for joining. Vivian, Gary, you're losing weight. Please look after yourself. It must be draining doing what you do, and after all you've been through. Do look after yourself, Gary. Something else. Thank you very much, Trivia. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not like to a weight that needs to worry anyone or anything like that. It's probably quite good actually. I think I've heard, not that I want to, not specifically losing weight, but not that I have been. But if I was to be fasting or anything like that, that's good for the body. Yeah, I'm not unhealthily skinny or anything like that. I haven't been doing any exercise, which doesn't help. You know, I was doing loads of press ups. I haven't done as much exercise as well, and I haven't been eating as much just because I've been doing this and haven't felt as hungry. So yeah, I'll be fine. Thank you very much though. Getting things out there is so important. Absolutely. Faith Defender, the Queen carried around a bag of adrenochrome in her handbag. Yeah, I've heard that as well. Obviously, I don't know 100% sure, but I've heard it. Question: what about Anunnakis? Someone's put. Okay, well, the Anunnaki ties into obviously the alien element of things, which I'm just starting to. I know it's a big part of everything, but I'm just trying to work on my theory around it. So I'm going to have to get back to you on that. All right, that's something I'm going to need to be considering with what my latest theory is working on. So, Gary, do you know that when COVID happened, it was long, and all MPs were meant to be on house arrest? Don't know if true. So they were all under house arrest, you've said, Julia. I don't know, to be honest with you. Gary, is there a connection to the dolphin shopping centre in Poole with the culling of the dolphins? Thank you very much for the question, Dia. What's your name? Diane? Oh, sorry, it's because it's all the words together, isn't it? Diane. Sorry, Diane. Yes, I'm presuming it was you that said me to look into it, so I have looked into it. So thank you very much for prompting me, and I will just mention the evidence on that. So in Poole, which is right next to where my investigation began, you have a shopping centre called the Dolphin Centre, which I was aware of, but I hadn't researched it until someone suggested I did. We've got the links into the dolphin culling, which links into the Dolphin Square scandal of child trafficking, linking with Jimmy Savile, Edward Heath and others, which ties into aristocratic circles and also in with the government, okay, in with this scandals that actually took place. And that was what originally, that was 2014 that started to be investigated, but that was after the investigation of Jimmy Savile was starting to come out, which was obviously he died in 2011, and there was mention of it in 2012. So he probably didn't die at all in 2011, but they needed to make it look like he died so they could start exposure in relation to the crimes against the children. Now, this could have been deliberately timed because it was after the Christchurch earthquake in 2011, and of course in time with 2012, which is when the end of the Mayan calendar was happening, all right, which it ties in with the CERN claiming they had discovered the Higgs boson or God particle. This all ties in with the black hole and wormhole evidence that I've just been speaking about, believe it or not. So anyway, this then led to the dolphin investigation starting in 2014, supposedly. But remember, the police are all involved in the deception. It's an international collaborative deception against humanity. I don't mean everybody beat police officer on the street, but certainly the heads of all of the police organisations are involved in the deception in all of this, whatever's going on. So yeah, there was lots of links into dolphin, the culling, and a meeting took place within Parliament on the 15th of July 2022, 2 days after Anthony Roberts resigned from Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, which triggered my investigation. And that parliamentary debate was completely against the dolphin culls and the dolphin and whale culls that were taking place in the Faroe Islands. And they timed, it looks like, an article prior to that where they had more dolphins than ever killed in a particular cull. That I can't remember what year it was, but it was prior to that meeting, I believe. 1,400 dolphins, I think, and whales were killed, more than they normally do. Anyway, this parliamentary debate was 2 days, as I said, after the investigation was triggered by me, by them resigning, and that was all about saying that they need to stop the dolphin culls. Well, the evidence is too big now that the dolphin culls is a massive part of this, so I now suspect or have to consider that they were setting that up so that they could backtrack from their involvement within the dolphin culls and how that linked into all of this, just in case in future I came out and found the link to the Dolphin House Child Abuse Trafficking Network, tying with the Coles of the children and what have you. So anyway, there's a Dolphin shopping centre in Poole, right near where my investigation began, and my research from that goes straight to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited again. Yeah, literally, it goes straight to the exact same address for the managing agent of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. There's other evidence as well coming in from it. I can't remember what it is because I haven't got it in front of me, but absolutely it is going to be part of this. So it looks, oh, that was it. So the company, the shopping centre was acquired by Legal & General in 2013. 2013 is after CERN claims to have discovered the Higgs boson, a God particle. All right, and obviously it's after 2 years after Jimmy Savile died, supposedly, and when the investigation began in relation to Jimmy Savile from 2012 onwards, I think. So yeah, it's definitely part of it. So thank you very much for mentioning it. Really appreciate it. If it was you, Julie Bill Gates of Hell. Sorry, Julie Bill Gates. Oh, Bill Gates of Hell, a newly appointed world top director, told us to stay in our homes, and he literally just bought a beach house at the time. Interesting. Gary, is the slaughter of the wild horses in Australia anything to do with the Doomsday Cult? Thank you very much for your question, Bobby. I don't know. I haven't researched it. It's interesting you mention it, though, because the horses are a big part of this. You had the horse meat scandal here in the United Kingdom in 2013 as well. That links straight to me via my ring, all right, via an organisation called Eurofins that was involved in testing the DNA of the meat, supposedly to identify it as horses and pig, being put into food that was meant to be something else. I suspect if the crimes against the children are really happening, it was a cover for the remains of the children going into the food chain. We've also in the United Kingdom had recently information of horses all being supposedly a plan by a government to cull or loads of the horses on one of the I think it's Dartmoor National Park. So the horse element is very relevant in this. You've also got Lloyd's Bank had the black horse, okay, or the black horse, wasn't it, symbol. Now that seems to be linking in with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and one of those horsemen was black. Now one of those horses were black. 3 of them represented human form, according to the research. 1 of them did not. This all ties in with the, funny enough, with what I was looking at today, believe it or not, with the Denver airport and Dias linking in with it. Dias is part of the Greek name coming in from the website that I was talking about right back at the beginning of this. So, and at the front of the Denver airport, they have 1 horse, which is a blue color called Blucifer. Well, that's the nickname for it, as in Lucifer, and because it's blue, Blucifer, and its eyes light up like demons, like red. But that was based on a black horse that was owned by the person who was sculpting it, and he supposedly died creating that sculpture, and it had to be then finished. There was some sort of financial dispute with the sculpturist, the person that was doing it, and the people that had contracted him to do it. So this 1 horse is out the front of the Denver airport. On the runways look like the swastika, which is 4 lines. There's actually 6 runways, 4 lines though, which creates the shape of a swastika. Well, that obviously ties in with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and the hooked X. If you type in the hooked cross, you bring up the swastika. If you type in the hooked X, you bring up the bloodline of Christ, and the hook representing a child that child that Christ and Mary Magdalene had. Well, the swastika goes back to Christianity right very early on. So we have to consider that the hooked cross, which is 4 hooks, may have represented a symbology of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, 3 being human, 1 being not, it says in there. So, and they put 1 horse in the statue at the front of the Denver airport. So, big, long answer, I don't know. I could have just said, I don't know, to your question, to be honest with you. But I'm going to screenshot that. I wasn't even aware of the Australian slaughter of the horses. So, thank you very much. Now, that could be, if that is deliberately just being publicised, that could be deliberately for me to identify it, to show how it links in with the evidence of the other horse side of things. Gary, what's your thoughts on Tim Cohen book of Cup of Tea? Well, I mentioned it earlier, actually. It's interesting you say it, because tea has come up quite a lot. He is somebody who's mentioning that Charles is Satan. Now, at the same time I was in contact with Tim, which was not a lot because he didn't respond after I started sending my evidence, I had somebody claiming to be from the military who had claimed to be given a mission by Princess Diana, not tying in with the Queen, to come out at a particular date and say to the world that Charles is Satan. Now, they also timed the release of or unveiling of the Charles's first portrait as a king with the exact same day that I released the evidence of the royal foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. All right, I didn't even know about the unveiling of the portrait, and I'd released that evidence on that date. Well, that links to me. So I actually suspect, all right, I suspect at the moment that I was going to either be, because of the evidence of the bloodline of Christ and Lucifer tying into me, I think it was possible that I could have been the Antichrist or the return of Christ, or they were setting it up to appear that way. Well, hopefully it seems as though I'm completely, if that was the case, and I am both, which I have been considering, everybody, because the evidence, why would they have put, because in the portrait, there was a Baphomet, okay, a Baphomet within the king's portrait being unveiled. Well, the Baphomet is the symbol of the Church of Satan. So they timed that deliberately for me to find the unveiling. At the same time, remember that I unveiled the evidence of the royal foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Well, the royal foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales connects to me because it links to Ingenious Film Partners 2, which is on its incorporation document, and that links to my favourite movie, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. So it's possible they were seeing if I would see through the information and the evidence of Charles being Satan, or they were trying to get me to make the connection to that, to me, because of the bloodline of Lucifer and Christ potentially within me through that bloodline. Does that make sense? It's huge. I understand what I'm saying is absolutely massive. I understand that, but this is what all of the evidence is saying at the moment. All right, and we've got to be looking at the evidence. We've got to be looking at the motive for that evidence. If that evidence has been staged, what's the motive for them to stage it? Now, if they're staging me to look like somebody when I'm not, then why would they be doing that? That's a big question. Big question, all right? And we've got to factor in my dreams and where my dreams have led in all of this as well. Now, would it be a bad thing if it turned out that I am who I am? It doesn't seem like it, because what I'm calling for is complete accountability, liability, transparency, and heaven on earth through a new system. So, this is something I've been thinking about a long time. I'm obviously not being taken out, right? Which suggests either they can't take me out, or a lot of other people that have died have not been unalived. Okay, because let's face it, in theory, who are they going to take out on Earth out of everyone now? It's going to be me. I'm the only person providing, as far as I'm aware, verifiable evidence proving the international criminal corruption, how it ties in with the children, and I'm putting pictures of people within that document. All right, it doesn't get any more personal than that, and yet I'm still here. Interesting, bearing in mind you could have had a multi-million-dollar contract put out on my head by somebody linked in with one of these organizations to get rid of me, and I'm still not being taken out. It just it's a huge question, and they know where I am. Make no mistake, there's been several times where they know where I am. The last time where they let me know where I was, the guy came down and I poked my head out of the tent, and he shouldn't have been there. There was no reason for him to be there. It was an obstacle course to get where I was. It didn't lead to anywhere. It was a little bit of a woodland. I was tucked under this, and I put my head out of the tent and said, "Oh, you're right." He said, "Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm just looking for Pokemon." And then he said, "Oh, do you need anything?" Obviously thinking I need. And then he walked off. He didn't want to stay. I said, "No, it's okay. You don't have to go anywhere." I was obviously going to get a picture of him, and he knew that because I'd already recently publicised pictures of two people that had come and found my location. Anyway, it turns out that the Pokemon was very likely a code for me being linked into the creator, because that then, the research from that Pokemon comment then linked into evidence of the creator again. And they could have got rid of me, and they're not, everybody. They're not getting rid of me. Is them 5G towers making the summer hotter? Carla's put. Are the 5G towers making the summer hotter? I mean, we don't know exactly what technologies within there, do we? I don't personally. We're being led to believe they emit electromagnetic radiation. In theory, if you put any biological material in under electromagnetic radiation, it would heat it up. So you would get a heat transfer from that technology. It would generally be internal heat first of all. If what we're being led to believe about microwaves, which is electromagnetic radiation as well, heats from the inside out. So it could be causing heat. Yeah, I mean, it could be. That's a good point. Is it that they are heat, but then, you know, does it heat from the inside out or not? But who knows? I mean, there's possibilities that the sound frequencies could be implemented within that technology. It's obviously relevant to all of this. It's obviously very, very important. You had Sasha Stone saying it was going to be used in an extinction level event against humanity. So was Mark Steele. Neither of them, as far as I'm aware, are going and cutting down a cell tower or disabling a cell tower like I have publicly. Not being funny, if you were confident it was a weapon system and you linked it into this international government fraud, then everyone will be out there disabling it. All right, well, I've disabled it, one of them, publicly, because I genuinely felt that they were a threat to all of humanity. And then I actually asked 7 or 8 times to be investigated for that, and they have not investigated me at all. I've had no investigation in relation to that, which tells you they know they're in serious trouble because of the evidence I've got. Otherwise, they would have been able to sit in an interview and speak about all of this, but they didn't want me to. They knew I had the evidence of proving everything. Somebody put he was hung from a tree, presumably speaking about Jesus with his wife in Africa after the damage. Oh, sorry, no. Oh, okay, you're talking about somebody else. Him and his husband are clones and look nothing like the originals. We need to bypass the demiurge. Will's put, thank you. We must separate and know. We must separate and now truth from lie. Know the truth from the lie. Yeah, you're not going to do that with this system. As soon as the system's gone, then we have a foundation for truth. This system motivates the lies. That's why it's absolutely critical that the system goes. You're not going to know what to believe in terms of what our governments are saying until this system is gone. And even then, you're not going to believe, because they've been corrupted previously and they haven't been speaking about the truth, then you're not going to believe them anyway. They can't remain in position, whatever, unless they've got proof that they've been trying to expose the international government fraud. We need the Elliptian Bible with nothing removed. The Elliptian Bible we put. Sorry, Ethiopian. Sorry, it's my Elliptian. Ethiopian. My eyes are terrible, getting worse. Actually, they're not too bad actually lately compared to what they had been. We need the Ethiopian Bible with nothing removed or changed. Book of Thomas, Book of Sarah, all missing. There's more commandments which have been removed. Interesting. Thanks, Julie. Interesting. Thank you very much. Is a dim. So many women in the last 2.3 years missing in UK rivers. Interesting. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, it becomes very relevant in the research I've done. You're right. We're all foretels of light. All of us connected with the Creator and each other. Thank you for your comment, Susan. And the generations of. Daily reminder to look up in the sky. I bet you see one spraying now, seeing as though they love spraying at night also, someone's put. Water is very important in all of this. All life comes from water. Thanks, Faith. It is, you're right. Very concerned about the condition of the NHS, the blatant scamming and waste, of rest purses, UB qualified staff carrying out medical procedures. The majority of services are not functional. It's completely set up as part of this fraud. It never has been functional in the right way. It's never been based on moral conscience, according to the research. It's always provided a motive to take people's blood and a way of doing it. The system behind it has provided the motive. The healthcare system has provided the opportunity to take blood from the innocent, and how that links in with an attempt to create immortality. According to the research, it's a massive part of this is the blood. Huge part of it. The first thing they do is they take blood. So this provides the motive to cause health problems to everybody, doesn't it? Right, and that way you get people into the healthcare system. I think this is an important part of the cell towers and how that evidence ties into the removal of the lead paint, the banning of the lead paint, but an actual exclusion of that ban in relation to grade 1 and grade 2 listed buildings, which means those running the system in their mansions, which they've got through theft, through stealing from people, most of them I would think, through the taxation and everything I'm exposing, are able to use lead paint still on those buildings to protect them from the technology whilst everyone else is targeted. Deborah, that's what I thought. The metals they are spraying is trapping the heat on us. Well, if you got vampirism in all of this, you've got to consider that with this. Was it symbology? Is it symbology to make us realise the link into the vampirism? Right? Blocking out the sun with the metal. Is this why Sasha Stone's first album was called, was it Block the Sun or Cover the Sun? Cover the Sun. Now it is also an analogy, a symbol of covering the sun. In other words, the return of the sun. Right, stopping the return of the sun, potentially the return of Christ, and the symbology of the return through the literal rays of the sun as well. Yeah, the Bibles have been written many times. Gutenberg's was a German company. Just reading your comment there, Lisa. You put Julie, the Bibles have been rewritten many times. Every reset, the characters get new names: Jesus, Horus, and many more before a Sumerian tablet, Babylon, Egypt. So Gutenberg's was a German company that began in 1440, I believe. Go and look at it. And then they started printing rapidly the Bibles. Now, it was from that research that then led in through a chain of evidence to DNA equals X, linking to X-born manna, Freehold Limited, which represents the blood of Christ as well. So it looks as though someone was trying to say the DNA of Christ is at X-born manna, because it was tied straight to coming in from the Bible. From the research of the Bible, a little bit of a chain of evidence, but it came to it. DNA equals X, and not only that, it was timed in 2023. That's when that company became DNA equals X. Well, that's when I was starting to expose the company's house fraud. Hi Henry, great to have you here from Chicago. Great to have you. I hope everything's all right for you guys over there. We're all in the same situation here, so different for obviously different areas and different things going on, but generally we're all under this system of crime and corruption. The Gnostic texts are key. Thank you, Will. I'll have a look at that if I can. I'm going to have a little bit of a break because I think, like I said a couple of times in this, I'm now establishing, well, I knew anyway, but if they're behind the information that is actually exposing the right at the heart of this. Now, it could be like we spoke about earlier, they have to put some truths and some lies. So that's something I'm going to be considering as well, that actually it is true. However, they have, because it fits everything that I'm finding through that website. And it is the only website that I've found that you can't copy and paste the text from it, but they're showing the full information. But you can, when you register, you can. Now, I've never seen that on anything. I've seen websites where you can't see the full information unless you register. But this one, you don't even have to register. You see the full information, but you can't copy and paste from it until you actually register, which is quite unusual. I don't think I've seen that. It's not worth voting as the system is rigged. Oh, yeah, it's definitely not worth voting. There is no democracy at the moment. Carla, I believe that is correct. Gary, who was Brian Harvey talking about? Any idea, Gary? And was he talking about the fraud? So Brian Harvey, I first got in contact with him in 2024, gave him, started collaborating with him in terms of, I had a phone call for about an hour and a half. He then started being a bit distant from me. I sent him evidence supporting what he was saying was corruption involving his former manager, Tom Watkins, and also somebody called Puddick. Can't remember, was it Stuart Puddick? Ian Puddick, I think Ian Puddick. He then didn't want anything to do with me, and he basically turned on me, and turned on me. He didn't want to talk to me again after this, even though I was supporting what he was claiming. So, interesting. Brian Harvey, can we trust him? I don't think so. Unfortunately not. Not if he's not willing to actually look at the evidence and collaborate with me, even though I'm showing him proof of what he's been talking about anyway to support him. Doesn't make sense that he wouldn't collaborate. So we've got to consider that he's part of this. But no, I don't know in relation to the video that you sent me. Just in relation to the video, I don't know who he was referring to be honest with you. So I'm going to head off soon, I think. Here are wars being waged every day. It looks like the negative are winning. Children are being sacrificed, somebody's put. Sister Kenny Asu. My skin was fried today. After 5 minutes, I knew it wasn't right. See, one of the things I've had to think about is there an event they're aware of that could tie into this? We have to consider, is this are we seeing an actual judgment situation from the creator? I don't think so. Do many people on earth potentially deserve to be judged by the creator? Well, who am I to say? But we have to consider, if there's crimes against the children going on and people are behind it and people aren't doing anything about it, is there a judgment coming through the Son, through the return of the Son at the same time as the return of Christ? With something we have to consider. Is it that sun is going to get hotter and people that have not been doing the right thing will face something from the sun? I don't know. It's we've obviously got the El Nino going on at the moment, which they're claiming goes on till next year. And they're timing it, it looks like, because you have the resurrection of the Christ coming out next year, the Mel Gibson movie, and 2027 becomes relevant in some other ways, which I haven't got in front of me. But this El Nino is obviously relevant, and El Nino links into the information of Christ as well. So, Gary, your soul is your breath. You have to be born again in the Ruach spirit. Thank you for your comment, Starry Held. Thank you. Is it the end of days? Sister said. Sister Kenya Sue. It certainly looks like we're coming to the end of something, doesn't it? Whether it's the end of creation, I suspect not. Is it the end of humanity who have not been doing the right thing? Is there a judgment? I think if all of creation was going to be taken out, I think it would be an unjust judgment. So I don't think that's going to be the case. Is it that some people are being taken out through something that's going on? Possibly. Is it going to be a end of, as I've said, I don't believe it's going to be an end of creation situation, or because it just would not make sense. So in answer to your question, it's the end of something. It's the end of the system. I cannot see how this current world system can continue. It's just not going to work, whichever way you look at it. Even if they get rid of me, the document's out to too many people, the evidence is too strong in relation to the corruption, so it's going to be the end of something. So end of it's interesting you talk about the end of days, because that links into a movie, doesn't it, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that also comes back and links into me. So you've got a link in via the director who connects in with where was it? I was coming in from. I can't remember. A lot of the big movies are all connected that I'm seeing, linking into the same criminal networks in the fraud and tying back in with me. I'm linked to the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table that was set up by actors in 1720. My mum links to Ridley Scott via her director, via her boss. My dad linked into Neo Productions via his accountant, and there were loads of other movie company connections as well from him. So Musk has 1,400 Star Trek satellites up there. That's interesting. The same number of the dolphins. And the 400 also cropped up. Where was it? I'll look at that. Thank you. That's interesting, because I wonder if that's symbology to try and tie in with what I'm finding. Yes, I have been getting a lot of black small floaties. Someone said it's parasites to me. Interesting. I've had it a few times where I get blotchy eyesight, and then it seems to go again after a while. So no, it's not just because you love meat, Rebecca. It's because of the other comments as well. Yeah, goodbye. Black seed oil, absolutely, Deborah. Are the righteous winning, Gary, here and now? Are the righteous winning? There's not enough innocent people doing the right thing, so I think there's a risk of not winning. Is the evidence going to change everything enough by itself with just me? Probably not. I've got a strategy. I'm trying to urge everybody to do it. If they don't follow that strategy, does that mean it's going to be the end of humanity, or certainly those that are not doing anything? Possibly. Don't know. We've got to ask ourselves, would it be right for people to be doing nothing in this situation with the evidence of the crimes against the children and a risk to all of creation, to just carry on as normal and just be okay in all of this, and then lead us into an event where it could end all of creation? Because that's the thing we're facing, isn't it? Is if we carry on with artificial intelligence and with allowing this system and people facilitating this system, which, most people here are still facilitating the system in a way that they shouldn't be, then they're becoming part of the problem. So, are we winning? Look, the creator is always going to win. The creator, because they are the truth, they are, I believe, all righteousness and all good. Does that mean that humanity is going to carry on? No. Does that mean that people aren't going to suffer? No. Depends what you mean by winning, really. Are we going to change the system with me alone and make what happens need to happen? Are we going to make what needs to happen just by me doing my evidence? Probably not. Will it by you all following the strategy that I'm suggesting, or at least some of you? Yes, I believe 100% we can turn this completely around. We're on the verge of it, definitely, 100%. We are literally on the verge. But my theory is being changed potentially in relation to everything. So I need to really have a think over the next few days about my theory side of things and how it links in with everything. Definitely a serial killer regarding the women in rivers. Again, water is very important in this as part of their death cult. They're inverting it as water is life. Yeah, good point, actually. This could explain, if these deaths are real, and we have to presume they are because they're telling us they are, then a lot of them, with the link coming in from the, what was the name of the organisation I said? Christian Warfare, linked into a baptism company, which obviously is about submerging people within water. And that was coming in from the research of the children going missing by the water. So it's possible they're carrying out baptisms within the water like you said, as a mockery potentially, and killing these women. But it's interesting because one of the women, there was information that they suggested that they, what was it? I'm trying to remember. Almost that they were part of what was going to happen to them. I can't remember. I'd have to look at my notes and my research. Because I did start searching these women through the Company's House records. You could well find that they're all part of the centralised criminal deception, in which case they could be part of the deception in all of this. Somebody's put about the EBS emergency broadcast service system and everything shutting down for 10 days. I've been hearing that for the last 2 years, but there may be a day when that occurs. And somebody has afterwards said, I believe if we do have the 3 days of darkness, all dark ones will be taken. Possibly, yeah, it could be an inverted rapture, couldn't it? So the rapture was supposedly the good people being taken before the end of creation. Well, if you imagine that, or the end of, creation, according to or end of times, let's say, and the tribulation side of things, but it could be inverted, couldn't it? It could be that those that are not good get taken, and then heaven happens on earth. That's one thing I have thought about in all of this. Someone's put, it's Whistleblowers Month in London at the House of Lords, July 2026. No way, really? That's interesting. Thank you very much for that. Didn't know about that. The tares will be taken, the wheat remain. Interesting. Yeah. The Creator sits in a much higher frequency. Evil was not part of the earth and creation, the real creation. Evil came from outside of the universe. Susan Grover's put. Thank you very much for your comment. Someone's put parasites are not real. Fish to protein, alternative to meat. Jesus ate fish, sea bass. I heard, I don't know how true it was, that is, of course, Adam and Eve were vegetarian and didn't eat anything, any meat or animals initially. Wouldn't surprise me. I actually suspect that's probably going to be the case. I don't think we were ever meant to kill any animal personally, because it just goes against, like I've said, what we know to be wrong. Anyone that says it's okay to take a life because it tastes good, I'm sorry, they can't agree that that's right morally. It just doesn't make sense. And I know we don't need to eat meat, okay, to sustain a healthy life. I haven't had it for 9 years, and I didn't lose weight at all for years and years. I've only lost a little bit of weight now, not even much, and that's just because I'm living in a tent. I'm not having proper meals. I'm having to eat cold food all of the time, or most of the time. So someone's put, so plants are living. Do you feel quite guilty eating a plant? No, because they don't have a sentient brain and a conscience, potentially, like animals do. That we have to eat something. The plants were, I believe, put there for us to eat. I think we could actually live off of grass if we really wanted to. I think our body would adapt to it like a cow, even though we don't have 4 stomachs, supposedly. Is that real? Have they made that up so that they know that we have to eat their food, so we couldn't just go and live out in the middle of nowhere and eat grass? I suspect we could live off of grass quite healthily, to be honest with you. I suspect that's the case with humans. Do I believe, no, plants, I don't believe, have a sentient conscience like an animal. But nice try to try and undermine you, and that just proves again, Rebecca, that you are compromised. I thought you were going to go anyway, Rebecca. You seem to be still here. There are millions of mirrors pointed towards the sun in North Africa and the US in the guise of solar panels and greenhouse experiments. They may be contributing to the extreme heat wave. Interesting. Thank you for that. Last 2 weeks, 40 children went missing. Interesting. Ronald McDonald's and Nephilim. Ronald McDonald's House Charity for Kids with Cancer. Yeah, there. I've found a few Ronald McDonald House companies linking into the children as well. So yeah, they're involved in the hospital side of things and the vulnerable, affected children as well. So yeah, it's Kim does it. Kim does it. Does it kill and pass them out too, hun? I tried a dodgy parasite cleanse. Alistair Crowley. Yeah, Alistair Crowley links massively into this. He was a heroin addict, according to the research. He had a property at the side of Loch Ness. I actually believe the Loch Ness monster was named after him. He connects to Osmsley Manor, or I say him, through the records from where he was living. This house in Inverness connects to Osmsley Manor, which links to the Cray twins, to the Profuma affair of the Russian government, an affair that took place with Catherine Keeler, I think it is. Catherine Keeler, could have the name slightly wrong there. And that links straight to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited. Osmsley Manor was in the New Forest in Hampshire, right where Exmoor Manor is located. Someone's put, evil isn't normal. It's nurtured and built through behaviour and demonic practices. It can be stopped. I absolutely believe it can be stopped, 100%. Kim, where would you recommend me buying them from? Okay, something else. Dido, you'll have to research it. My daughter swears by it. Mohammed Al Fayed raised the issue with the girl's body on palace grounds. Interesting. Okay. He then died in 2023, and then afterwards they started exposing his crimes against the children. Well, it'd be interesting to know the year of this body, and I'll look into that. Is it that he was unalive because he was trying to come out with the truth after he realised the fraud was being exposed? Al Fayed has Egyptian connections. He was Egyptian, I believe, which Egyptology is a huge part of what's going on as well. Yes, they make diamonds from children. Someone's put, diamonds are made of carbon. Thanks, D-Day. Yeah, which could explain why you've got the carbon. I haven't focused on them, but you've got a lot of carbon company names within the research as well. Now, obviously, this is all tying into the centralized criminal network and the crimes against the children. So maybe that is an element of changing them into the jewelry. I hope not. Someone's put, Wormwood is a movie, some CIA weird film. Only watched a bit of it. Strange. Okay, thanks very much for that, Dido. Interesting. The dried seeds of papaya will get the gut parasites out. No. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to see how's he the Lord of the Rings? So Brian, you put Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Oh, unless you're just mentioning that I didn't know. I don't have a connection to Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, but I will look for it now you've said that, because that will become relevant. I know Harry Potter's massively linked into this. So when you come in from Sasha Stone with the album of Cover the Sun, who is claiming there'll be an extinction level event with the cell towers, but is also linked into the blood of the children via John Cousins and Glastonbury, and he's linked to the fraud himself, and he's linked to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited via his band very, very quickly, and information is linked into the Black Nobility family members via Orsini's. It was something I was going to say. What was the comment I just read? Oh yeah, he links very quickly to J.K. Rowling via the Company's House Records. It's immediately, I think. So J.K. Rowling was the creator of the Harry Potter movies. So it's interesting that you've said that. The person climbing out the Buckingham Palace was a clever fake. It was a different building. Ah, okay, thanks very much. Superimposed onto Buckingham Palace. Thank you very much. Gary, did you manage to look up Bobby Johnson exposing Portland Place, London? No, I haven't. I've screenshot it again. No. Tourists had footage looked real. Can you prove it was fake? Oh, that's to somebody else. Deborah, 100% cancer is parasite worms. That's Kim. You put 100% it's parasite worms. You've got to remember the technology they've got in place as well, and the possibility of that causing cancer. So if you consider, let's just presume the cell towers are really emitting electromagnetic radiation, which is what we're told it does, which cooks from the inside out. Right, you have to consider that could be causing cancer as well within the body, and that would affect generally external fluid parts of the body as well. So don't mean to be graphic, but men's testicles are outside of the body, and obviously the eyes could be affected by that. So you could have blindness. You know what happens to the whites of an egg when you put it in the microwave. So I don't know necessarily about the parasites. You could well be right. I think definitely there's a strong probability that they have technology that will deliberately cause cancer to humanity. I absolutely believe it's deliberate, the cancer side of things, and I think this is why Kenneth Noy, who's linked to the Freemasons, shouted towards all of the jury when he was convicted of the murder of the M25 incident. He shouted, "I hope you all die of cancer." I suspect he knew that cancer was being imposed on the public. The evidence from Kenneth Noy is massive. It's massive coming in from Kenneth Noy, linking straight into the and from his associates into the bloodstock trade, into he was a Freemason, remember, and massive connections into the horse and bloodstock trade in all of it. So going back to extraterrestrials, are they fallen angels? Are they fallen angels, the Watchers? Look, it's difficult to know exactly who these people are, all right, in this. But there's definitely evidence tying with the aliens now. Whether those aliens are real, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm working on the theory as to how they may be and how that ties in with everything I'm finding. But what I do know is when I searched alienus, when you go and research the meaning of aliens, okay, or alien, it comes up with the word alienus, as in alien, us. When I searched for that on Company's House through Google, the very first entry that came up was angel us. All right, that came up, angel us instead of alien us. Now I think that was huge, because that tells us possibly the deception in relation to the aliens and how it links with angels. So in answer to your question, are they fallen angels? They certainly seem to be trying to make us believe or feel that they are fallen angels. Put it that way. They sent me an urgent CT scan today, suspected lung cancer. They wasn't happy because I refused the blue dye. I simply don't want anything injecting my body. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope I'm really sorry to hear that, D-Day. I hope you're okay. I pray you're okay. I pray that you're going to be okay. Herbalists were named as witches killed because of their natural remedies. Stay away from the doctors. Study herbal remedies. Yeah, I will try and avoid doctors at all costs now, to be honest with you. Just don't, whilst this is going on. As soon as this is resolved, and I know that we're on the move towards transparency, then I will start trusting people within the system more. But Christian Grey, yeah, of course, 50 Shades of Grey, interesting. Thanks, Lisa. Could become very relevant, couldn't it? 5 crop cycles in 5 days. Very interesting designs. Worth a look. Thank you. Bloated gut, apple cider vinegar, turmeric. Completely different window and fascia. Windows. Right, okay. In relation to Buckingham Palace. What do you think about Boy Johnson and David Icke? I don't know about Boy Johnson. That name, Boy Johnson, I don't know. I don't think I've seen that. David Icke, 100% part of the deception in whatever's going on. 100% he knows more. He's linked very quickly to me, actually. Well, all 3 of my families, and then actually into me and my friends. via the Hackler International Advisory Board Company, which is an intelligence agency company linked to the Russian government, is on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which has Ingenious Film Partners on it, which links back into me. And he's also linked from various other areas into all, like I said, all three of my families. Now, around him, there are several what appear to be drug-related companies: Opium UK Limited, Paranoid UK, other companies which appear to be relate to greens and cannabis. And then there's other companies which link into hydroponics. That's it. I had an interview with his son Gareth. It was very rushed, 15 minutes. Gareth looked uneasy. I then requested an interview with David Icke. Then didn't hear anything. Whilst I was exposing David's Icke connection, I then found someone from his linked into his family's ties with an aid of theirs for their companies, which is Iconic, as a lot of their companies are tied in with Iconic. She basically had a go at me for publicising the evidence. I said, no, there's no reason I can't publicise this evidence. It's public information. And she said, okay, well, I'm going to try and arrange an interview with David then. And I said, okay, brilliant. Please go for it. Never heard from them again. Never heard from them again. There's another intelligence agency link back into David Icke as well. So there's two intelligence agency connections. And he's linked into the blood of the children, but he also links into me massively. All right, so this again is forming part of my theory that I'm going to be talking about over the next week or two, once I've done a bit of thinking and looking at a bit of the evidence again, and the theory around how it ties in with the aliens. I'm going to head off actually, guys. Oh, sorry, Bobby Johnson is the name that you're saying. Okay. No, the building where the main came out the window is different. Lord Mountbatten, Edward Heath, and others. Yep, all connected. All been connected through the research. Lord Mountbatten, very interesting. He was photographed with J.F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. He was also had a prime role for the Isle of Wight, which is where Deborah Fleming was an NHS chief executive. And there was something else tying into the year 9. There was quite a few things with him. I can't remember now. Yeah, so he's the uncle, I believe, of Charles, isn't he? I believe. And he was supposedly blown up on a boat by the IRA. I doubt very much that happened. Who else was recently, or not recently, in the last couple of years, supposedly died? Mike Lynch. Who else was on that boat? Someone critical in my evidence. I only found this the other day. I suspect they were all saying, look, you know, we don't want to be part of this anymore. We want to be out of this. So a lot of the time, what they'll be doing is faking deaths, I believe, to actually change identities. And there's loads of evidence for this. They're changing identities. And actually, there's information literally acquired in the last couple of days where it suggests that I believe the same person has died twice. So they faked their death in America, and then they faked their death then in England as well a few years later. That was coming in from the evidence of the Black Sun, I think it was. I can't remember. Whether that footage is real or not, the royals are still PDF, someone's put. There's an area in Dublin called Dolphin's Barn. Interesting, thank you. So are the... What's this? Oh, that's the flat earther. Saffron is worth more than gold per weight. Ask yourself why. Interesting. Thank you. Mushrooms contain all of these different things. Dandelion roots get rid of cancer. Sir, where's La Fondor? I have no idea. La Fondue. I have no idea. If you're asking me, I don't know. Where's LA Fondor? I've screenshot that just in case you're trying to get a coded message to me. Because I have had, I think, people within the system giving me messages that leads to other stuff, including Jim Carrey. But we'll see what I find on that. If they say it's came back, I would never in my days have chemo or radiotherapy. Don't trust them at all, but fingers crossed. Should know by the end of the week I don't have sugar. I pray you're okay, D-Day. I pray you're going to be okay. Microwaves all around you in your kitchen, front room, your phone, when you drive your car, someone's put. I'm probably in one of the best places where, well, in a tent, you know, away from most of the technology other than my phone. I'm still probably being affected by cell towers, but I haven't got it all around my home like many of you will have it through your electricity, etc. Maybe you should all just get in a tent and do what I'm doing and just see what happens. You'll survive like I am. You'll save a lot of money as well, I can tell you that. When you're in ketose carbs, it cells as you run off fats, not glucose. Oh, sorry. It is Brumby horses in Australia. Thank you for answering. No problem. Horses seem very significant. There are other ways to keep the horses population down, but they are shooting them from helicopters. What a shame. How sad is that? Oh dear, oh dear. Well, in relation to the dolphins, someone told me today that they are, now I don't know this is true, this is just what I was told today, they are telepathically connected into, so if for example you have a child that touches a dolphin, the dolphin can have some sort of telepathy connection with that child. Would not surprise me if that is true, everybody. And I think they've chosen dolphins as part of the coal and the whales deliberately as some sort of symbolic attack against the creation. That I would think, against the creator, that I would think is going to be the case. We've all heard how incredibly intelligent dolphins are. I mean, I couldn't imagine hurting a dolphin. I mean, let alone any animal really, but a dolphin would be the last animal in my mind that you would ever want to, well, I wouldn't any animal, but you know what I'm saying. It is just the most beautiful animal on earth. So it appears they've chosen them deliberately to link in with the crimes against the children as an attack against the creator. Children first, it looks like. Dolphins, because they're, I suppose, the intelligent side of things, and the closest, therefore, to righteousness and the creator. I mean, it's just so sad if this is going on. I mean, the evidence is there. Whether they position the evidence to expose themselves as part of a theory in all of this, to get the creator to come forward, I don't know. You know, I pray that's the case. But anyway, we'll just keep going and see where it all leads, everyone. We'll see where it all leads. I'm going to head off. I know I keep saying that, but I am going to head off now because I would like just a snack. And tomorrow's a new day, and I'm going to be working on getting all of the evidence into one document. At the moment, it's in 2 or 3 different locations. I want to get it into one document, really try and assess it and work out the theory that I can, because I think it's important if I can understand the theory as to behind what they're doing, as to who I am in relation to it and how I tie in. It may be that I just have to do something, and that ends the entire thing, and we start bringing heaven on earth. So, yeah, I'm going to be working on that. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate all the questions, all the comments. Thank you for listening. Let's all pray for D-Day and hope that she's going to be okay. She's having potential tests for potential lung cancer. So let's all pray for D-Day that she's going to be well and healthy. And, you know, we should all be praying now anyway, if I'm being honest with you, for the things that we want to happen in life and for others. All right, it does you an incredible amount of good, and you will realize it, but you won't, if you don't believe in a creator, it will just take a bit more time to do it, and then you'll start realizing the difference in your life. And you know, see if it affects you. There's no harm in it, is there? It's the easiest thing you can do is pray. I don't do it enough, anywhere near enough. I'm doing it, but not enough. And every time I pray, I actually apologize and I say, I'm really sorry, I haven't prayed again sooner. You know, and it's just because your life you get carried away with what you're doing, and then I'm talking to a lot of people, so I don't think about it. It's interesting because it's when we are in our most difficult time that we tend to pray, where we should be, and me particularly at the moment, I should be praying even when I am actually fine and I'm not struggling with trying to deal with all of this, because it's a lot. You can imagine the amount of information, and every now and then I will just be like, okay, where do I go with this? Please, give me some guidance, give me some strength. And some days it's it's a case of, what do I do next? And I'm dwelling on how do I deal with this? And of course, it's quite upsetting thinking that the children are suffering and that all of these animals are being slaughtered and that there's a risk to an end of all of creation. And I need to, even on when I've got positive or a run of positivity more than I normally would, I still need to be thinking, okay, I need to have a prayer, and pray anyway, because then I'm keeping that connection with the Creator through it. So anyway, I'm waffling. Thanks very much. Really appreciate you chatting and your comments and listening, and catch up very soon. All right, all the best, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.